Our new partner who I'm really, really excited to announce we are working with. Super, super stoked. Thank you, Angie Huberman, for this connect. It's incredible. AG1 Athletic Greens. I've been using them for a while. I have them every morning on an empty stomach. Basically, take one scoop and you put it into a cup or glass or mug of 8 ounces of cold water. And this is all your greens for the day. You're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens. Every day I take this. It's so good for my digestion, my energy. It's simple. It's easy. I don't like taking a lot of vitamins. This has been really, really helpful for me. I've had a lot of stomach issues my whole life, and ever since I've been gluten-free and taking the AG1s, it's really helped me in my stomach in the mornings. I love it, and I'm so psyched that they're part of the One Life One Chance podcast. I'm sure a lot of people don't like eating greens, let alone drinking your greens, but I can tell you straight up, it's got a mild tropical taste, and the taste is actually really refreshing, and I really look forward to it each morning. Don't think it's just going to be just straight bland. It tastes really, really good, and it's good for you, so remember that. This one blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. It's incredible, just one scoop, especially for musicians who are vegans or just musicians in general who want to get those daily greens. You can get the packets. It's incredible. I just gave some to my friend Derek from Sepultura. He traveled the whole entire world this summer, and he had those every single day. He said it saved him. I bring AG1s with me when I travel. It helps me stay healthy. You know the deal. If you're on tour and you are a picky eater, but you need to have your greens, sometimes catering doesn't have greens. Sometimes you miss the catering. Sometimes you miss the backstage food. Sometimes it's too late after the show to go get food that you like. So if you just have a scoop of AG1s in your hotel room before you go to bed, or you're in the hotel room at night and you're starving and you want something healthy, boom, life changer. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with some convenient daily nutrition. That's all you need, one scoop in a cup every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. This is it. I'm super psyched. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit drinkag1.com/OLLC. That's drinkag1.com/OLLC. Take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. This is incredible. I love it. It's just basic greens. For me personally, this has changed my life tremendously. I'm not a junk food vegan. I don't eat a lot of fake meats, so I'm strictly greens. And this has been a wonderful, wonderful new addition to my life. So once again, visit drinkag1.com/OLLC. That's drinkag1.com/OLLC. Get 1 free year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. That's drinkag1.com/OLLC. Yo, Liquid Death, thank you so much for hydrating all my guests, taking care of me and my family and my friends. Love your water, love your brand, love what you stand for, love what you give back to the community. If you want to learn more about Liquid Death and how it started, listen to episode 115. With the co-founder, owner, and creator of Liquid Death, Mike Cesario. Just a punk rock skateboarding kid from Delaware with a dream. It's an incredible story, incredible journey. So if you go liquiddeath.com/Toby, you get free shipping on any items you order from liquiddeath.com. And if you want to get water, Liquid Death water, go to amazon.com. But for merchandise and other things that's not water, go to liquiddeath.com/Toby and get free shipping. Thank you so much, Liquid Death. Death to plastic, murder your thirst, stay hydrated. You know H2O saves lives.
Sandwich. He goes, no, man, he doesn't eat meat.
Vegetarian.
So you got a grilled cheese. You got a grilled cheese sandwich.
That was my shit. I used to always have grilled cheese before I went vegan.
Right.
I see your last name, Rind?
Rind.
I never knew that. It's so crazy. You always know each other like by their last, like Phil Sacred Reich.
Right.
Like Toby H2O.
Yeah. It's easier.
Okay, welcome to the One Life One Chance podcast. I'm your host, Toby Morse. Today I have a good friend of mine. We go back 30 years. My man, Phil Rind from Sacred Reich is in my kitchen. Thank you for being here, man.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
We've been talking about this for a long time, too. I don't even know where to start with you because, we did a tour in 1990. We'll go back, then we'll go forward. But, yeah, we did the New Titans on the Block tour in 1991, bro. It was crazy. It was like the first time a hardcore band, sick of it all, played with like metal bands. I've never seen nothing like that. Maybe I'm wrong, but like from the New York hardcore scene. Well, Chromax did a Motorhead tour.
Right.
That was it. But this is different. This is Sacred Reich, Napalm Death, Sepultura, Sick of It All. It was crazy, man.
It was out of control.
It was like pre-internet, pre-everything, crazy-ass shows, some violent shows, some wild shows. We shared a bus with Napalm Death, which I never heard of that band in my life, or any of these bands, because I wasn't into metal. I didn't know any of this stuff. I knew Sepultura because I worked at Roadrunner in the mailroom.
I got you.
But then just sharing a bus with Napalm Death and just touring with you guys, and it was just a crazy. How long was that tour? Do you remember?
It was 9 weeks. We did 8 weeks with them in Europe, came home for like 10 days, and then went out for another 9 weeks in the U.S.
Can you imagine doing a 9-week tour right now?
We did.
Wait, you just did a long one?
In 2019, when the record came out before COVID, we did 8 weeks with Gwar in the U.S., and the day after the last show with Gwar, we drove to the airport in Chicago, flew to Denmark, and then started a 5-week tour in Europe. So we did 13 weeks in a row.
Oh, so what is that like at somebody like our age?
Too much. I'll never do it again.
Even for singing too.
It was too much. It was, we had already planned our European tour, and then the Gwar thing kind of came up.
Yeah.
And it was a great opportunity for us, so we said yes. But yeah, 13 weeks is too much, man.
You felt it.
Yeah. But at the end, I was like, we're not going to do that again. I think 4 weeks, 5 weeks is tops. 5 weeks tops.
But back then it was easy. It was just we were younger.
Yeah, you're in your 20s, and who cares? I mean, that's what you do. And Gloria, who was our manager, Sepultura's manager, she was like, Gloria wanted to go everywhere, be everywhere, do everything. We, back in the 90s, we went to Yugoslavia, and they were like, hey, that's where the Civil War is.
Wow.
When everything was still behind the Iron Curtain, Czechoslovakia, Poland.
What year was that?
This was 1989, 1990.
Bro.
Yeah, so
it's so crazy. And this touring now, it's just so different and just
so much easier. At least communication-wise and knowing where things are and having a cell phone. I used to have to go stand in the train station and pump Deutschmarks into the phone to call my wife, You
remember those phone dialers, too? Did you ever get those?
Uh-uh.
Well, maybe it was a New York thing. You get these dialers from Radio Shack, and then you can make them sound like coins.
Oh,
So we hold them up to the payphones, and it's not like you're putting quarters in. But sometimes the operator would go, excuse me, sir, please try using real money. And we'd be like, oh, my God, they're following us. But that was a hustle, calling from offices like in different at different places in Europe, different venues.
Yeah.
And then the label would be like, or the booking agent like, hey guys, there's a bunch of calls to New York on this one German venue.
That's funny.
We're just trying to keep in touch with loved ones and just sacrificing a lot, just doing a band.
Having different currency from every different country and crossing a border every night was a nightmare.
Damn.
That's why we were like kings at making pipes out of Coke cans and stuff, because you'd have to ditch them every day. You could have no paraphernalia, no drugs.
How is this torn out? So it's Municipal Waste, Creeping, Death, and Carcass.
Yeah, it's been
It's
great.
A sick lineup,
It's
man.
been great, and all the bands are super cool. Everybody gets along, and everybody's commenting about how easy the whole thing has been. And,
it is.
Yeah.
Wow. And then before that pandemic, your last record, like it did really, really good. Like it was it was like crazy.
It was heartwarming.
Yeah, and how long was it between the last record and that record?
23 years.
Yeah, that's right.
23 years.
Wait, the last one was 1996?
Yeah.
Heal?
Yeah.
And then 2019, Awakening. Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was like a bit of a minor miracle that we even made a record. For years, I mean, nothing was going on, and I would sit down and try to write, and it wasn't happening. And then one day it just started. It's like a radio antenna, just boop, turn back on.
Yeah.
The music came.
So you had writer's block for all those years, you think, or no? Were you
writer's block.
Were you broken up, or?
Yeah, we stopped playing. Probably 97. We stopped playing
Completely.
Then, I put my bass in my closet and I didn't even look at it.
Wow.
I particularly just moved on. I was splitting up with my wife. I had 2 kids. My life was changing and moving on. So I just put my bass away, and that was it. That we were done. That part of my life was over.
And you had toured since the band started in 1985.
Yeah, 85, 86.
Yeah, the first record, the first demo was 86.
Yeah, and then we did our first record in 87. And our first tour consisted of 4 shows on the Ignorance album. It was Cleveland.
That was the sit for the Ignorance album?
That's it, Cleveland, Detroit, Cincinnati, and Toronto. Yeah.
So random too.
Yeah. I mean, we drove all the way to Toronto from Phoenix.
Wow.
And it was killer. Yeah, and that was it. And then we finally got an agent like on when Surf Nicaragua came out. Like, you know, Metal Blade wanted another record. And we go, well, we have this EP thing. And they're like, EPs never do well. And then it totally outsold our record in the first month.
Was that the record you had when we did that tour, I think, right? Around that time?
We were actually, that was on the American Way record.
Way, that was 1990 that came out.
Yeah, Surf was 88. And they're like, yeah, EPs don't do well. And it was the thing that really got us touring and got us known, and still is probably our most popular song, Surf Nicaragua. So,
wow.
Yeah, you never know.
What label was that on back then?
That was Metal Blade.
Damn.
Yeah.
And so what are you doing? So you guys toured pretty much straight from all those years, because after that, American Way, A Question, Independent, and Heal. So you're touring like crazy. That was like your life. Were you working jobs in between when you coming home?
No, not at that time.
Just full on musician.
Yeah, it was just metal.
And then when the band breaks up, what do you do? Is it weird, like transitioning from being a full-time musician, that's your life, and then going into the real world?
Well, yeah, I mean, considering, like, I dropped out of high school to go record our first record. I was 17. Like, my mom signed my record contract because I was a minor.
Wow.
And so it was I joined the band, I was 16. And then so from there until 30, it was music.
Yeah.
And I didn't graduate high school, and I was in a band all those years. So when you put band on your resume, you may as well just write drugs, you know, for all they know. So it's just starting all over again, you know.
Wow.
But, you know, and in life, you just figure out pretty quickly it's not what you know, it's who you know. And if you have a connection here, a connection there, you really have to know people, because, you know, there's people 30 that already have 10 years experience in whatever they're doing in their field.
Yeah, real job, wife and kids, all that stuff.
You know, and I'm just starting again. So you start at the bottom and work your way up and just do what you got to do. You know, I did lots of stuff I didn't want to do and didn't like to do. Yeah. It was fucking miserable for a lot of years.
Like, not saying you weren't humble, but it must be humbling going from that. Like, and then what was your first job? Do you remember what you did? Did you have any idea what you wanted to do?
No.
It's scary.
I just wanted to do whatever I could make the most money at. I had, you know, like I said, my wife and I were splitting up at the time. I had 2 kids, you know, 8 and 6, and 2 boys. And I was like, man, you know, what's the rest of my life look like? Yeah. And it was a big eye opener.
Were you bummed about the band breaking up?
It felt like the right thing. Like, you know, I think sometimes your band has an arc, right? You're on your way up, and then if you're paying attention, you can see that you're on your way down. Some people can't see it.
Some people don't.
Yeah.
It's really good that you actually saw that.
Yeah. It was, you know, it was diminishing returns, and you could see, and music was changing, right? Like all the metal bands went through a thing, and like, you know, Nirvana and Soundgarden, and some people blame those bands. I'm just like, come on, man, life changes, you know, adapt or get out of the way. Mm-hmm. And that's just life. Everything's always changing. So you got to go with it, you know.
Were you living in Arizona the whole time?
Yeah, the whole time, yeah.
Wow. And providing for your family and all that?
Yeah, doing the best I could. I did all kinds of jobs and whatever.
Were you working in between tours too?
At that time, no.
No, it was just hardcore band, yeah.
Yeah, and then, it was a big gear shift, and, you know, change into just being home all the time and trying to take care of the kids. And
did you ever get your GED?
I did. I got my GED that summer. Nice. After my mom's a teacher.
Okay.
And she couldn't believe that. She goes, you will regret it for the rest of your life that you didn't get your high school diploma. I go, Ma, I haven't even regretted it for 5 minutes yet. You know.
But she still signed the contract because she believed in you.
Well,
she was down.
Yeah, well, she knew she couldn't stop me. Okay. There was no stopping. And like, you know, we went and recorded and did that stuff. And I like, you know, for them, I went to community college, you know, but I was working and going to school and being in the band, and someone had to give. I couldn't go to school.
Yeah.
So I would get up and go like I was going to class, so they wouldn't say anything because I didn't want to disappoint them.
But you had good grades until you quit?
I was, you know, like I grew up in Brooklyn.
I did not know that.
And moved to Phoenix when I was 12.
So you were born in New York?
I was born in New York.
Did not know that.
Coney Island area.
What? That's amazing.
Yeah, I was born in Coney Island Hospital.
And you have siblings too?
No, just me.
Okay.
So, you know, like I remember we were getting ready to move to Phoenix, and my 6th grade teacher told my parents, like, he should probably skip 7th grade, you know. But I was already really young for my grade, and my parents didn't want me to be 2 years younger than everybody. And then when we got to Phoenix, they were teaching me stuff in 7th grade that I'd learned in 5th grade.
Wow.
And I just checked out. I was
Okay.
like, come on, man. This is lame.
And why Arizona?
My parents moved there.
Yeah, for work or something.
It's probably a really long, sordid story that I'm not aware of.
Yeah.
That they've never shared with me.
But did you like New York?
I fucking love New York. I grew up in the same neighborhood my whole life, and it killed me that we were moving. And every summer, I couldn't wait to get back. My grandparents still lived in the neighborhood I grew up, so every summer
Nice.
I would go back and visit. Because we were in Seagate at the tip of Coney Island, surrounded by water on 3 sides. I spent my summers at the beach.
Damn.
And then I moved to a fucking desert. I was like, Jesus Christ. And we moved there, and it was like August, right? Which is the hottest part of the year and the most humid. And you go outside, and you just get heat sickness.
Damn.
I'm like, what's 112? This is ridiculous.
Fuck. Yeah, especially from New York, it's like a culture shock, too.
Oh,
probably.
yeah. Forget I got a Brooklyn accent and fucking, yeah, man. I hated it.
So what kind of music did you listen to before you found the music that you play? Like, were your family playing music in the house? Like, what was your music?
Yeah, I grew up listening to Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Nice.
And Stevie Wonder. And it was disco 70s, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what my mom was into. My dad was like into Hendrix and Janis Joplin and some other stuff, but it was mostly what my mom listened to. And to this day, I still listen to Earth, Wind, and Fire, Stevie Wonder, 2 of my favorites, ever.
Awesome.
The Barbra Streisand thing didn't take on me, or Johnny Mathis that
Johnny
my mom
Mathis,
loves.
my mom like that too.
Yeah, of course, but it didn't stick with me. But the other stuff really did.
So what about your exposure to like harder music? Like when was that? How old were you?
When I moved to Phoenix, I met my friend named Todd Fleming, and he was like into Rush and Black Sabbath and Judas Priest and Scorpions and Ted Nugent too, but that's another story. But all this stuff.
Wango Tango.
Yeah, and he played guitar, and he goes, "Get a bass and we'll jam." Like, I wanted to play drums. My parents like, "No fucking way, you're not playing drums."
Could you play drums?
Not well.
Okay.
I bought a drum set later on, and I had a drum set, and
Yeah.
I'm a closet drummer. And me and our old guitar player Jason would always do drum wars like at practice.
Oh, that's
Who's
cool.
better? Who's better? Neither of us. I think the answer is neither of us.
So what grade are you going into when you go to Arizona? Like,
7th.
Wow. Okay.
It was so fucking awkward, man.
No friends out there.
No,
Nothing, just like,
man. Just fucking bumping around.
Did you have long hair then?
No. I had
Just a normal kid.
big old Sally Jesse Raphael glasses, and
Wow.
yeah. Just trying to figure out what the fuck was going on.
Yeah.
It's an awkward time for anybody at that
Totally.
age. And then to move across the country was like a big culture shock, like you said.
You're leaving New York. That's crazy, bro. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, man.
So then you start your band when you're in school, obviously, because you signed when you're 17.
Yeah, I played.
What's the bands before Sacred Right?
So it was funny. My freshman year in high school, I was 14, and I was jamming with these 2 other guys, and we were going to play the high school talent show.
Nice.
And we got, it was me and my friend John Bronson on guitar, my friend Mike Grant on drums, and I was playing bass. And we got Wiley, who wound up being our guitar player, to come and play lead guitar.
Nice.
So my freshman year in 1984, Wiley came in. I jammed with Wiley for the first time. Little did I know he would join the band, several years later, and we would be doing this for the next 35 years of our life,
Wow, man.
Yeah, so I was jamming with some friends, and we played, I think it was Rainbow in the Dark by Dio. No singer. We didn't have anyone
No
who
singer,
sang.
just instrument.
Yeah, it was great. And and then I started jamming with these guys, and we played a band. We played some parties. We do like Metallica and Iron Maiden stuff, and Fast as a Shark by Accept. And then they kicked me out of the band because they had they're 2 bands. So it was this dude Ken Rodarde, who now plays in is it Sirathungal?
Okay.
So Ken and Mike, the drummer, and this dude, God, I'm trying to blank. He a bass player, and he was really good. He was more talented than me, obviously. So they combined the bands. So they took the drummer from our band, who was the best. Ken was the guitar player, and they took Nick. They took Nick, the bass player, and they're like, "Man, we're really sorry." I'm like, "That's okay." I was upset,
Yeah.
but he was clearly a better bass player than I was.
Were you singing it all too growing up?
No, not yet. Like when I joined Sacred Reich, there was a band called Sacred Reich with completely other people in it.
Wow.
Except for Jason. Jason started the band. and they had a different bass player. Like they asked me to play with them, and they had this drummer, and I went and jammed with him. I go, call me back when you get a different drummer, because that guy is no good. Like,
whoa.
And I was working at this deli. My sophomore year in high school, I was working at this deli, and they were like, hey, we got Greg, Greg Hall, who is our drummer, who was like the hot shot drummer in the neighborhood.
Okay.
Hey, we got Greg in the band. I'm like, all right, let's jam. And we started jamming. And we had a singer at the time, too. And, he was a little older than us, so he had a job in an apartment. We were all kids.
Wow.
So he would not show up to practice sometimes because he had to work. And we started writing original material, and I would write the lyrics. So I would sing in practice.
Okay.
So everyone would hear how the songs were supposed to be. And we're getting ready to go do our demo. Like, hey, everyone's throwing in $100,
It's a lot of money back then.
And Dan's like, I can't throw in the money. We're like, everyone's throwing in $100, Dan. He was the singer. He's like, I can't do it. And Jason, our guitar player, goes, fuck him, you sing. I was like, what?
Wow.
He's like, fuck him, you sing. You sound better. I'm like, are you sure? So that's what we did. And we went and did the demo. And it's weird, like, I don't know if you had the same experience. Like, you could never hear yourself in practice. The PA was never loud enough. So you get in the studio, you're like, holy shit, that's what I sound like.
Yeah.
You can actually hear yourself.
It's so true. Or even playing the show like in a DIY spot and then finally go into a real stage with the PA. You're like, wow, the band sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, it's scary to hear yourself. You're like, I never
I hate hearing
heard
myself, dude.
Yeah.
I can't listen to stuff I record. But yeah, so then you finally hear yourself singing, like, okay.
Yeah. And then I remember our first show, too. I'm like, all right, I'll sing, but I'm not talking to the crowd.
Were you super nervous?
Yeah, and Jason's like, you have to. That's part of the job.
Part of the deal.
I'm like,
Have your back turned to him?
I was not good at it. I was actually pretty rude.
Really?
Yeah. Like I was an instigator. Like if people weren't up front, I'm like, come on, you fucking pussies, get your ass up here.
Yeah.
You fucking assholes in the back. If you don't like it, get up or get out. We already got your fucking money. And the dudes would be on stage like, dude, what the fuck, man? So I stopped that.
Do you remember your first show with them?
Singing?
Yeah.
Yeah. At the Mason Jar. It's still there.
Oh, I know that spot. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I remember I was like, whoa.
Was there a lot of people there? All your friends?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No.
Your friends?
We started playing as Sacred Reich. Like I joined the band. I just wanted to play a show at a bar.
Yeah.
And we started playing at a place called the Bootlegger. And we played there pretty regularly. And Gloria, who wound up being our manager, Sepultura's manager, she ran the bar. And then they had some problems with this court that was in the same like kind of area. And then they lost the bar. She started promoting shows. And she would put us on all the shows that would come through town. And that's how we developed a relationship with her. And then when Metal Blade asked us if we want a contract, we asked Gloria if she wanted to be our manager. And that's how that started.
Crazy, man. And that was just it from there.
Yeah, and it was fucking on.
Damn. So by the time you record your first record, you guys have a following, like as a local band, or?
Kind of. I mean, it was never really our goal to be the biggest band in Phoenix.
Yeah.
You know, like Flotsam and Jetsam was from...
Did not know that.
Yeah, Flotsam was from Phoenix, and they were like our big brother band. Jason, our guitar player, used to work for them, was like their crew guy. And Jason Newstead, who was in the band at the time, was really instrumental helping us out a great deal. He wrote our first bio.
Oh, wow.
He was really had his shit together and had a huge mailing list of all fanzines and all these things in Europe. So when we went and recorded our demo, he's like, here's the list. Here's who you send these things to.
Wow.
So we would get press, and he would do interviews on audio cassette instead of, back then, instead of typing a letter back and answering these handwritten questions, he would just record it on audio tape and put our demo on the backside and send it out to people. Yeah. And he would tell Metal Blade, Sacred Reich, Sacred Reich, Sacred Reich, Sacred Reich, Sacred Reich.
How fucking awesome. How DIY too, man.
Yeah, man. He was, he really showed us how to do stuff. He was about 6 years older, you know, so he had his shit together. He was really fucking motivated.
That's cool.
He was the captain of that ship. It was clear. I would just watch how they would do things, and yeah, I remember the day that Cliff died, we actually had a show, and he came to the show and he had a black armband on. He ripped it in half and he tore tied around my arm. He's like, we're in mourning, and then he goes, practice up. We're gonna go audition. And I was like, I was 16. I wasn't going anywhere to audition, but he was 22.
16, wow.
And he went and auditioned for Metallica.
Dude.
And then he came back. I go, what? He goes, yeah, I'm going back for a second audition. I was like, shut the fuck up.
That's
Yeah, and got the
Crazy.
gig, dude. And he went to Japan with them and came back, and we went to his house. And he had a VHS tape of him playing with Metallica, and we were like, "No fucking way, no," because those were our heroes. I mean,
Yeah.
Metallica was it was Metallica and Slayer, but Metallica were our fucking heroes.
Damn. And that's a hometown kid. A guy goes play with him, comes, wow.
Yeah,
dude.
man, that was like insane. Like that's like winning the golden ticket, right?
Of course.
To join what turns out to be the biggest band of their, biggest metal band of their generation,
Yes.
easily. I mean, it's Metallica and everybody else. People talk
Yeah.
about the big four. There's the big one and everybody else. And no disrespect to Slayer, who I love, but come on.
Yeah.
They don't have the biggest selling record of the SoundScan era.
Fuck. Is it the Black Album?
Yeah.
And people, for me, I like the fast stuff. I appreciate it now. Back then, I was kind of like too hardcore, but I love that record. I know the fans thought it was too commercial, whatever.
Yeah.
It's such a banger of a record, man.
Yeah,
Still.
it was. It's funny.
Did
Somebody,
you like that record when it came out?
I love the Black record. I dug it. It definitely was a change and a change in approach and change in sound. And they worked with Bob Rock for the first time. And I had a friend who said that was the beginning of the end. And I go, well, in retrospect, because I'm not into Load or any of those, I like Death Magnetic, but all those records leading up to Death Magnetic, I was like, it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And that's fine because they had made all those records that
Ride the Lightning, all those.
cemented their place as the
Yes.
most important band of that time and knocked in the door for everybody. And it's their propers are unimpeachable. You can't like you might not like any of that stuff. You might not like any of the new stuff. And it's all fucking inconsequential because of what they've done for the entire scene and
Yeah, I agree.
and what they mean to music and how they've handled themselves through a lot of ups and downs. And you might not like all of it. And you don't fucking have to.
Yeah. I think I started liking when it had that song One on Justice for All.
Yeah.
Incredible video song. I was like, wow, that's like ballad. Like, I love when bands like change it up.
This is the thing about them, like there's the AC/DC Slayer way to go. Like this is what we do and we stick to it. And that's totally cool, man. And there's another side like, hey, we're going to try to change stuff up and evolve. And there's no right or wrong way. It's just whatever you choose.
Yeah.
But you open yourself up for a lot of criticism if you try to do different things. The part that I don't like about the criticism in general is trying to say, well, they're doing it for these reasons. Like, you don't know those guys. You don't know any. Either you like it or you don't, and criticize it on those merits. But don't say, hey, they sold out, blah, blah, blah. I go, you ever meet James Hetfield? I'm pretty sure James Hetfield doesn't do any fucking thing other than for the reason that James Hetfield wants to.
True.
So to say anybody else has different motivation, you don't know these guys. You don't know these people. If you say I don't like the music, fine, leave it at that.
Yeah.
But to think that you can say they're doing it because of this or that, go, people you've never met, you don't fucking know these people, man.
That's the same thing about every person, especially with internet.
Of course.
People think they know you just from one post or one record or one lyric and stuff, but it's like there's more to you than that. What they see online, that's a whole different thing. But back then there was no internet, so I get it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Which is interesting, when our record came out in 2019, and I told my wife.
Yeah, because there was no internet back then.
It was our first record in the internet age. I told my wife, don't read the comments. Don't read the comments, and absolutely don't respond in any way. Never, ever, ever. I don't want to see you ever respond to any of these people.
Facts.
And I go, and I'll tell you what. The people who would criticize the band are not our fans.
It's true.
And we're not playing to them. And two, wouldn't it be crazy to think that everybody was going to like your band anyhow? Of course people aren't going to like it.
Of course.
So why would you be surprised?
Great point, man.
And just leave it alone. Those aren't the people that we're playing to. The people that enjoy it, the people that come to the shows, the people that buy the records, people that stream it, whatever. Those are our people.
Yeah.
And it can change. They could be like, I really like the old stuff and you guys suck now. Cool, man.
Yeah.
You want to come for Surf Nicaragua or Ignorant? There's people that like our first record, Ignorance, the most thrash record that we ever did. And once we did it, I was like, okay, we played fast, we played heavy. I'm not impressed. I just want to write the best songs and memorable and hooky shit. Like,
Yes.
I want to sing the best I can and be the best songwriter. And if that's not for everybody, that's okay.
We have something for everybody. Each of our records. There's different, time and place for those records.
Exactly. How could you be, you're not the same person.
You're not, man.
So
That's so hard. It's so interesting too. People they see you a certain way or expect you to be the same or stay the same, or and play those one songs or that one album, and you're right, the fans are the ones that are criticizing, but they're still following, they're still paying attention to what you're doing. Good or bad comments,
Yeah.
they're still talking about you.
And maybe they like it or they don't like it, or that's all fine. Like how do you know what anyone's going to like? We're just trying to do our best, right?
Yeah.
We're trying to write the best songs that we think are the best, and we hope everybody else likes it. And sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. And if they don't, that's fine, because we'll make another record. And look, man, we hadn't made a record in 23 years. 23 years. And I was talking to a friend of mine, Mark Pellington, who's a movie director and a video director. He did like Pearl Jam, Jeremy.
Damn.
Like
all right.
U2. And I was talking to him, and I was like, I don't even know what we sound like anymore. Do we sound like the Ignorance record? Do we sound like the American Way? Do we sound like Black Sabbath? I don't know. And he said, you sound like whatever you do. He goes, look, he said, I was driving to my movie premiere, and it was the biggest thing in the world for me. But I'm driving by restaurants full of people who don't care, people doing their laundry, they don't care. He goes, just do your stuff and put it out, and then just go do more stuff and put it out.
Yeah.
And it was really liberating. Like you don't have to overthink everything. You just do your thing, man.
Yeah.
That's all we could ever do. We can't do anybody else's thing.
Yeah, I can't imagine your influences, how they changed since 20 years ago, what you've been listening to, or how your life changed.
Yeah, everything. Oh man, everything changed. Everything had
It's
changed.
almost like you guys were in jail and you finally came out like, oh, we're back in the world and there's like phones and there's internet and like now we're gonna make this record and like it's crazy.
Yeah, going through like splitting up with my wife and then we got back together.
You back together now?
Yeah, I told everybody
amazing,
our divorce didn't work out.
How long have you been married for now?
Oh Jesus! So we've been together since I'm 18.
Bro, that's amazing.
We've been married 28 years. And then we were together 6 years before that. So what, 33 years?
You got married in what year? 96?
I think so.
That's
94.
I got married in 96,
Yeah, we got married in 94.
So that's like almost high school loves almost. Of course.
18, man.
That's serious. Relationships are no joke, man.
Yeah,
Especially being in a band.
No, man. We started hanging out when we were recording Surf Nicaragua. It's funny. It was Sandy, my wife Sandy, was best friends.
Shout out to Sandy, man.
I love her. And she was best friends with Gloria's daughter, Christina.
Got you.
So she was always at the house. I would be at their house. And Christina's younger brother, Dana, who passed away, was best friends with Sandy's little brother, Brandon. So Christina and Sandy always had to bring Brandon and Dana to all the shows.
Gotcha.
As little punky kids.
Back then.
Yeah, drag them around. So
how old are your kids now? Your kids?
My oldest son, Zach, is 30. And then my son, Shane, is 28. Leo is 21. And my daughter is 19.
So 4 kids?
Yeah, 4 kids.
Bro, that's insane.
It's a lot.
Are they all at home? They're all
Three of them are at home.
That's amazing.
And sometimes my wife's like, Jesus Christ, get the fuck out,
But then you're like, oh, I'm going to stay for, I don't know.
Well, the thing is they are gonna get out eventually.
Yes.
So just enjoy it now.
That's what I told my son.
Yeah.
You're not paying for shit. Go do as much as you can. Save up money. He's working. Like, it's
yeah.
just like, but I want them. We're going to have that bond forever, but just that empty nest syndrome, like, damn, we should have had another kid. Like, I don't know, he's 20 now. He's living at home. It's like we have such a tight bond, which would never go away, but I love him being here, and I can, it's safe and all that. But you have 4 kids. That's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
What an amazing woman to, like, hold you down during all that as a touring musician.
She always held it down. She was looking for a job, and her dad said, why don't you go down to the union? They'll hire you right on because you're a girl. So she went down to the plumber pipe fitter union, local 469, started as a jobber and worked her way through and was like a journey. Like she did 4 years in the apprenticeship. So she was just about to turn out and be a journeyman pipe fitter. And she was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Because like being a pretty girl on a construction site.
She was going to be a pipe fitter? That's so fucking dope.
And so she welds and can do all that stuff. She repiped our friend's house.
So is she more handy than you are?
Oh, I am the least handy person you've ever met. When we got married, somebody bought us a do-it-herself toolkit. I'm like, because they knew. Yeah,
Oh my God.
she's like, I get out of the fucking
Does she
way.
teach you things though? You learn some things?
I can't learn that
But do they make you
stuff.
feel like you want to step up more because she can kill shit like
No,
that?
I just help her. I'm her assistant. Like we had this pool fence, and one of the bars broke off, and her friend's husband had a welder. So she got her welding helmet on. She's like, hold this.
Wow.
She hold this right here while she's welding it back on and stuff.
Badass, man. She's badass.
She is. And then she was like, I don't want to do this anymore, and she quit, and she went to nursing school and became like a fucking badass ICU trauma nurse.
Oh my gosh, she's awesome.
And she would work 2 jobs because I'm I'm a fucking uneducated high school dropout.
Musicians, bro.
Yeah, man. I mean, she's the rock that our family's built on,
Our wives let us be big kids and go out and play this music with no responsibility and follow our dreams and come home and all that shit was so lucky.
We don't
man.
deserve it.
It really is about the woman behind the man. I mean, especially for musicians that especially have a tight relationship and there's trust and there's that bond, through everything.
Because Sandy would tell me we would go on tour, especially when we were younger, and Sandy's super hot in her 20s, and she'd be at parties and dude's like, hey man, what's going on? She's like, I got a boyfriend. He's like, yeah, where's your boyfriend? Well, he's in a band, he's on tour. Yeah, what do you think he's doing?
Oh,
And they
dude.
get that shit all the time,
That stereotype of rock and roll.
Yeah, and like, man, I know people that got into music for sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Same.
And that wasn't me. Like I would blow girls off because I was like so focused. I'm like, girls are just going to want your time. Girls are going to want attention. I'm already working and going to school and being in a band. I got enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't need any distractions. I was incredibly focused on, like, when I joined the band, I was like, hey man, you're playing that song wrong. And we're doing a cover of Bonded by Blood by Exodus. I'm like, hey, come on. This is how it goes.
You're serious about it, yeah.
And we would practice for 3 hours, and we only had 30 minutes worth of music. And if anybody made a mistake, I'd be like, stop from the top.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was like drilling.
You were on it.
Yeah, man.
Fuck.
So yeah, girls weren't really part of the equation back then, and it was fine. The music thing. I was talking to Andreas from Sepultura when we were on tour in Europe, and I said, if you really stop and think about it, if we really knew what we were getting ourselves into, we probably wouldn't have done it because it's too hard. The chances are too long. What are the odds?
Yeah.
But we didn't know any better, and we were just going for it because you had to.
Mm-hmm,
you don't really have a choice.
Yeah, man.
It gets in you.
Yeah.
And lyrically, I'm like, man, I got fucking something to say, whether I did or not. At least I thought I did at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is fucking important shit, and people need to hear this, and we need to be the vehicle, and
of course,
the lyrics are the nail, and the music is the hammer.
Agreed, man.
And we're gonna fucking get out there and tell people the fucking truth, and tell them to fucking wake up and pay attention. It's up to us together,
We always about the lyrics. For
yeah,
other bands too?
always.
Yeah, man.
Always,
same,
man.
man.
That's why I love Slayer and I love Metallica and I love Iron Maiden and Scorpions, but when I started hearing like Corrosion and like old DRI and MDC was like a big one for me.
Ahead of their time with everything, man.
Yeah, MDC was a huge lyrical influence, and
That's
Corrosion
incredible.
especially. So that kind of stuff, I was like, all right, this is my stuff.
Do a corporate death burger, Ronald McDonald.
Yeah.
That shit they was singing about back then.
Yeah,
John
man.
Wayne, just everything.
John Wayne was a Nazi. Fuck.
I know, just everything.
My family's a little weird.
My family's just a little weird. Your family's just a little weird.
Yeah. Daddy wears a dress and Mama grows a beard. He was like,
everything, dude.
he goes, I don't understand if I'm a woman or a man. And Dave's book, Dave Dichter I
need to read it,
It's
man.
so great. And he talks about cross-dressing in there. And he goes, and I was never bisexual or anything. I just like to wear women's clothes.
Damn.
And I was like, fuck.
I remember getting busted at 18, like all those
Yeah.
intros. And,
Yeah.
Dude, me and Derek still listen to him all the time.
Yeah,
in the
giving me
car.
chills right now. I
Yeah.
remember burn.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
But nobody was singing about shit like that back
Yeah.
then.
The night I was supposed to graduate high school, they played in Phoenix, and I was hanging out with those guys.
Oh, you went?
Yeah. Oh, fuck yeah. I was hanging out. My friend Zach was the promoter of the show, so they were at Zach's house, and I was hanging out with them.
Wow.
And I remember Dave Dichter going, what's the name of your band? I go, Sacred Reich. And he was on the phone with someone. He goes, we're hanging out with big bands like Sacred Reich. And I'm like, we're a big band? And he's like, I think we sold 10,000 records. He goes, dude, that's a lot. I'm like, okay, it's all relative, you know?
Yeah.
Like 10,000 records to me wasn't a lot, you know, but,
Yeah.
you know, so it's all relative.
I feel like MDC doesn't get their just due. Like, I feel like they're, like, not underrated, but they were such a big part. Them and Dead Kennedys, the stuff they were singing about back then was just stuff. That's when I first learned about politics and different things I didn't really know about, like, way ahead of the time. And shit's still happening now that they've been talking about, you know? Like,
yeah. Things don't really change, do they?
No, I guess not.
The more things change, the more they stay the same. Well, I mean, the human condition is the human condition, right?
Mm-hmm.
In Buddhist terms, it's samsara, right? Cyclic existence. And, you know, reconciling all that stuff, reconciling the most incredible, beautiful, wonderful things that could ever happen also come wrapped up with the most horrible, terrible, heartbreaking shit you can imagine. Yeah. And it all comes together. It's all wrapped together. This is our life, you know? And you can't have one without the other.
That's interesting. What was your inspiration to come back and make a record?
That the songs came.
Have you guys been talking for years? You guys all stayed in touch with friends?
Yeah, I mean, we started playing shows again in 2007.
Okay.
So we just played shows. We started going to Europe and playing festivals.
Start making music, yeah.
Yeah, we just started jamming, and everyone was like, "You gonna make a record?" I'm like, "No, man, we don't have any songs," you know. And I tried, and it just wasn't happening.
Yeah.
And then one day it just started coming back. I was like, "Oh, cool. Well, I guess we're gonna go make a record. Awesome."
But years later, it came back like, "Yeah, you were touring the whole time." Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, it took 12 years.
To start writing stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? It comes when it comes, right?
Our last 4 records have been 8 years apart.
Yeah.
And now, like, on the 8th or 9th year right now, I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready. Like, I have to get inspired and stuff like that, too. Yeah. Like, because some bands would just be like a machine, like, every year, tour cycle, new merch, new artwork, new album, and just keep pushing them out like a machine. And it's
amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. But I was never like that. We weren't banging out. For how long we've been together, we have not many records. You know, it's like
same.
Some people can do it. I just don't want to force it and just make the same record over and over again. It's the same, just to like go out there and tour because that's what you had to do.
And I remember looking at Sepultura, and I think they have like 15, 16 records out. I'm like, it's incredible that someone can write 15 or 16 records.
Have that in them.
It's amazing. I can't even understand it. I can't. I think it's incredible.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I'm with you, man. It takes time. Like, I wish I was that creative. I'm not.
Yeah.
So I'm always amazed when bands can do that, and it's incredible. I'm in awe of that.
So what has been your job leading up to the new record that came out? Like, what have you been doing? You working at home and?
Well, I was managing a restaurant for about 6 years. Then we had a transportation company, like a sedan company.
You had it?
Yeah, my dad had it,
and
I worked with him. We did a lot of stuff with American Express people. And then I was looking for another job. And this is a funny story because I was talking with Greg, our old drummer, and he was talking about his son, Beck, is jamming with this other kid, and his dad runs a machine shop. And you know, he was hoping his son would get a job with him. And I was like, I need a job. I go, you got his number? So I called him and I started working at this machine shop. I don't know what the fuck to do about machine shops, but he gave me like an entry-level job just doing mindless shit that made me want to kill myself work. Anyhow, that's beside the point. So his name's Tim Radziwill. And we start working together, and he's a huge Sacred Reich fan. Oh. And he said, you know, I told him that we were working on songs and writing, and we wound up splitting with Greg.
Okay.
And that's how I met Tim. And Tim goes, it's cool. It's not going to change anything between us. I'm like, cool. And then I talked with Dave, our old drummer who was in Machine Head, and I said, hey, you know, Greg's not in the band anymore. And Dave's like, I want to do it.
Wow.
I want to record the record and tour. And I was like, really? Like the same day, because we were like, what are we going to do? I'm like, I don't know. We'll see. I go, well, let me call Dave.
Damn.
But he was still a Machine Head, and they just dropped a record, and they were going to be touring for the next year. I'm like, well, we waited 23 years. We waited this long, but, you know, we can wait another year.
Yeah.
So we started demoing stuff, and Tim said, hey, you know, I play drums, and my son Joey plays guitar, and we have like a little studio. If you need help recording demo, we can help you out. I go, that would be great. So we did all the demos for Awakening, and Tim played drums on them while Dave was on tour. and Joey played guitar and recorded everything. So when it came time to go record, it was obvious that Jason wasn't going to be able to do. Well, like we were up to the first day in the studio, and Jason just wasn't up for it. Like physically, mentally, it was obvious that it wasn't going to work. And everyone's like, "What are we going to do? We're in the studio."
Yeah.
And I said, "Don't worry, we have Joey. He already recorded all these songs.
Okay.
He knows every song more than we do. He's already because initially we recorded some of the stuff in a different key, and I said, we're changing it back. We had to go re-record everything.
Wow.
He's already recorded everything, and he's a whiz.
Mm-hmm.
So Joey's in there, and we're recording, and we said, Joey's 23. Like, you don't want to be in a band with a bunch of 50-year-old dudes. We'll make the record. We'll help you find your own band, and blah, blah, blah. About 3-4 days in, I'm like, what are we doing? Our guitar player's in there destroying it and killing it and recording our record.
Yeah.
And we said, hey, Joey, you want to join the band? And Tim, his dad, was there, and it was just like,
oh man,
yeah, like Tim,
awesome.
Tim and Kirsten are huge Sacred Reich fans, and Kirsten was at a Sacred Reich show, pregnant with Joey. She goes, yeah, and your wife Sandy came up and put her hands on her baby. I'm like, it was foretold.
That is crazy, man.
Yeah, so
he's in the band.
Joey's in the band,
killing it. His dad's so psyched.
Super psyched. And Tim actually came with us to Mexico and played a show. Dave was still not able, Dave was still out with Machine Head, and we did a show in Mexico. We said, Tim. So Tim played a show with us, got to go to Mexico with us.
That's awesome.
And they're like the nicest people you ever met.
Family too, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Joey's like the greatest, the easiest. He's really revolutionized how we record and demo stuff, and it's just been really wonderful. It brings a great energy.
I was going to say new young energy to the
band.
Man.
Yeah. And he just always got a smile on his face and
appreciates it.
Yeah. And just, you go, what do you think, Joe? He goes, I love you guys. That's always his response.
Because he's a fan too. It's
man.
Do we live up to all that?
And he likes the old music, and he's used to hanging out with his dad and his dad's friends. So he's used to being around a bunch of old farts like us, And he's not like a big partier. He likes to smoke weed like the rest of us, and he fits right in. I go, we couldn't have.
It's perfect.
Yeah, and the same with Dave. Like Dave was already in our band.
Mm-hmm.
We know Dave's a great drummer. We know Dave's a great guy, because when you're adding someone to your band, it's not just can you play. It's like, can you hang out?
Yeah, it's more than just the playing.
Yeah.
Personality, getting along with everybody.
It's really important. You need to have a good attitude.
Especially traveling and stuff.
Yeah. Because, sometimes if you don't have a good attitude, it just affects everybody.
You can be the best player, but you can be an asshole. Like, they don't want you.
And no one wants to be around that.
Nah.
So it's really important. We got really lucky. So
were you ever a big partier?
I guess. But I was never like a big drinker.
Yeah.
But I like to do acid and like mushrooms and stuff.
All right.
So that was kind of like
back then, or just
Yeah, back then we smoked tons of weed. We just always smoked tons of weed. We were never like a big drinking band.
Yeah.
So just smoked tons
crazy
of
hard drugs and shit.
No. I think those guys were like doing cocaine and some crystal meth for a while.
Damn.
And I never liked that shit. It was not for me. But I think those guys had a little phase that they went through, and but mostly acid and shrooms. I liked mind expanding stuff, like at the time.
Yeah.
My kids go, "What are the best drugs, Dad?" And I go, "Weed, acid, and mushrooms." And they're like, "Really?" I go, "Yeah." I go, "Stay away from that other shit." I go, "But even acid and mushrooms," I go, "There's a benefit for mind expansion and
people do the microdosing now. Everybody's talking about
or
that.
Changing your perception. It's great for that, but there's a point where you've extracted all the lessons that you're going to get.
Yeah.
And then you need to move on, because you can't sit around and do drugs like that all the time.
No.
And people are microdosing and doing all that stuff. And I'm like, the other day we were on tour, and the guy's like, "Hey, you want some mushrooms?" Everybody had mushrooms. We were up in Mount Shasta, California for a day off. And I'm like, it's not for me anymore.
Yeah.
There's a movie, and it's about, what the fuck's his name? Timothy Leary.
Yeah.
And Ram Dass. They were the ones leading the LSD experiments at Harvard. Okay. So it was all graduate students, and they were doing research on LSD, which was legal at the time. And like Ram Dass was like, the drugs are great, but the drugs wear off. And I'm looking for something that lasts longer. So he wound up leaving and going to India.
Okay.
And becoming one of the first Western guys to really bring back Eastern philosophy, Hinduism, Buddhism.
Interesting.
But Timothy Leary stayed and kept doing the drug thing and got in some trouble. But the movie was really interesting to see their divergent stories. And I feel the same. Like, okay, the drugs are great, but what happens when the drugs wear off?
Yeah.
If you're looking for a change of perception or what the truth is, or, you got to look for something past that.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So how is it getting back on? How do you feel now playing those songs and touring at the age you're at now?
It's great, man.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate. I feel very lucky. Like the other day we were hanging around and I was talking to Joey. I go, the fact that we do this is preposterous. I mean, if you really stop and think about it.
How many years? Yeah.
Well, just the fact that I think about the four of us starting in Greg's bedroom. It's like us four knuckleheads.
Yeah.
I mean, we're idiots. We have no idea what we're doing.
Yeah.
And we made a record and we put it out and somehow people liked it and we made another record and we started touring and somehow here we are all these years later and we have the best life you could ever fucking imagine, doing the greatest thing you could ever do, playing music and traveling around the world. And it's still for knuckleheads.
Yeah.
And
it's beautiful, man.
It's like when I really stop and think about the odds, the chances, the fact that we're still able to do it and that we're lucky enough to have wonderful fans that will support our band.
And wait almost 20 years for a new record, and that record crushed.
Yeah, it's when you really stop and think about it, it just doesn't really seem like it should be possible. And somehow it is, and we're just really fucking lucky.
Did you have expectations for the last record? Then when it started charting, you're like,
zero. I have zero expectations for anything.
Okay.
And it's easier that way.
Yeah.
Because you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That
must have felt so nice coming back from that long, and then that record just...
Well, we were just excited that we got to make a record, and the process of making the record was incredible. It was really like a beautiful experience and very natural and really easy.
Not forced, it just,
Yeah, everything. I remember there was... we were recording, and I had sang every song. We had one song left and I didn't have the lyrics for it yet. And I had to do it the next day. And I remember not being stressed out at all and going home and I sat down and it just came out and I was like, wow. And those are like my favorite lyrics from Manifest Reality. And it just sounds like my teacher talking, I was like, it just came out. And all I really did was just change the order of one verse. Gotcha. It just came out exactly like it was. Damn. And I was like, when things are, there's this guy, Joseph Campbell. He had a series on PBS called Joseph Campbell and the Power of Myth with Bill Moyers. And he said the Native Americans have a thing called the pollen path. And he goes, when you're on the pollen path, he goes, beauty to the left of me, beauty to the right of me, beauty above me, beauty below me, beauty before me, beauty behind me. I'm on the pollen path. Because somehow you kind of know when you're in the right spot, somewhere inside of you.
Interesting.
If you listen, it's quiet.
Yeah. Are you a spiritual guy?
I think so. So when I split up with my wife and I was 30 and I was at a crossroads, and I remember my wife was up in Colorado working and the kids were up with her. And it was around Christmas time and I was dating this girl and she had just cheated on me with my best friend. And I was like, how'd I get here? This is not where I want to be in my life. I go, well, you did it, asshole. Every thought, every action, everything you've done has led you to this point. And if you don't like it, you have to change your actions. And so the idea of karma really became real and concrete to me.
Okay.
And I would always pass this Buddhist place driving every day. And I said, fuck, let me just go there. And I started going there, and then it led me to another place.
This is in your 30s.
Yeah, and there was this part in the religious section of the newspaper that said Zachoji Rinpoche is going to speak about his recent trip to India. And I had a date night with Sandy. We were back at that point. And I said, I don't know. I saw a picture of this guy. I think I need to go see him. She goes, yeah, go for it.
Wow.
So I met him that night, and he's been my teacher ever since. So that's 23 years.
That's incredible, man.
Yeah, his story is incredible. He's Tibetan Buddhist, and he's like fifth reincarnated of Zachoji Rinpoche and like all this stuff. And like he wound up in Phoenix. He was leaving the monastery, and the Dalai Lama asked him to lead this tour called the Mystical Arts of Tibet. Like the Richard Gere Foundation sponsors it, and they travel around the country, and it's like arts and performance and song, and they do Sam Mandala. And he came to Phoenix, and he felt a connection and wound up staying.
That's
a
cool.
very high Lama. And the other thing with him is he's about a year older than me. And he was going to school, like, to be a teacher. Usually you find these kids early, and they go in the monastery when they're like 5 years old. Well, he was like 16.
Mm.
And he said his father came, and the kids were like, your dad's here. He's like, my dad's here. It's like a 20-hour train ride from where we live. And he had a letter from the Dalai Lama saying, you've been found to be the fifth reincarnate of Zachoji Rinpoche. And then he goes to Dharamsala, and the Dalai Lama gives him, initiation rites. He goes in the monastery. So it turns out like his previous died in a Chinese prison camp. Like when they invaded Tibet in 1959, they imprisoned him, and no one knew what happened. And then they found out that he died. They do a divination. It's all the stuff that people probably are like, think is like hocus pocus stuff. But they found him, and he goes, I went 16 years as a regular boy, and the next thing I go, do you remember your past life, Rinpoche? He goes, I don't really remember what I ate for lunch. He goes, but maybe there's something to it, because normally in the monastery it's 20 years. And he goes, and I learned all these difficult concepts in 10 years, so maybe there's something to it.
Wow.
And so he had a senior attendant, like, the High Lamas have attendant monks that help them. And when they told him that they had found the new Zachoji, the first question, his senior attendant was like 87 years old. He goes, is he tall? And they go, as a matter of fact, he is. Why do you ask? He said, well, he was in the prison camp with him. He goes, when we were in jail together, we would always pray that when we came back to be reincarnated, we would come back tall. So Rinpoche is like 6'2", 6'3", which is, out of the ordinary.
Wow, man.
It's just really funny.
And that totally changed your life.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's been the biggest change, and made me a much better person. It made me the husband I need to be and the father I need to be. I mean, we're all a work in progress.
Yes.
But yeah, it's been the greatest thing from my life personally.
And did it change you all as a musician too, in traveling and just making music too?
Well, I think it just changes who you are as a person.
Mm-hmm.
It changes how you look at things, your level of appreciation, your level of gratitude, your level of understanding, the not judging, accepting things as they are. Because I think ultimately, there was one teacher that said, people always say this isn't the way things are supposed to be. And he would say, well, if it's not supposed to be this way, it wouldn't be. Mm-hmm. So I think the most important thing is just to accept things as they are, because if not, we're constantly disappointed. We're constantly fighting things off. We're constantly upset. It's like we have an idea of how the way the world is supposed to be in our mind. And when it doesn't match that, we get upset. And like when you stop and think, you go, who the fuck are we to tell the world how it's supposed to be?
True.
It's not up to us.
Mm-hmm.
And we shouldn't judge, and we shouldn't do any of these things. We should just accept things as they are. And it just makes our life a lot easier. You might like it, you might not like it, but that's just your discriminating mind. Mm. It's our discriminating mind that creates our suffering, our attachment to things, our misunderstanding of how things are. I mean, we do it. We are the impediment to our own happiness.
Yeah.
So if we can unlearn those things and get back to our real natural self, because our true natural self is like pure light and connection and all these things, that it's all the same. There's no you, there's no me. It's just merely an illusion. There's no self, there's no other. Like there's a teaching called the Heart Sutra. No eye, no ear, no nose, everything is just projections and reflections, and nothing exists from its own side. Rinpoche said once, we always say beauty's in the eye of the beholder. He goes, we don't even think about what that means. If beauty's in the eye of the beholder, that means beauty doesn't exist from its own side. It's our projection. So whether we think things are good or bad or whatever judgments we make, it's from us.
True.
So if we understand that those things don't really exist, there is no self, there is no other, and that if we learn to There's a line in Manifest Reality, you know, putting others before ourselves. There's no limit to who we help.
Yeah.
If we do things for ourselves, we're limited to one person. If we do things
Sure.
for everybody else, there's no limit to what we can do.
Yeah.
You know, there was another teacher who said, you know, when someone says something to you, never say anything back. You know, if something says something to you mean or cutting, don't say anything back. Only pride wants to protect itself. Because in fact, give the victory to others. Give the victory to others. What's the point?
Yeah.
What are we trying to do? Convince people we're right, convince people they're wrong, convince people that they should see things our way. Whatever, man. Does it fucking matter?
No, it doesn't. I love that. This, especially now in this day and age, especially coming out of what we just went through, the internet, all that, just like with the judgmental and
oh yeah, and the political climate, and it's just
man.
everything is ramped up and just so tense and angry, and it's like
magnified by 20 million on the social media. Everything's
Yeah.
magnified and perspective for people and just everything, dude.
it's easy to get caught up into it, and I'm guilty too.
same.
And, you know, I remember I just heard someone say, you know, you may disagree. They said they were talking about Donald Trump, and they said you might not like him and you may disagree, and you might not want someone like that in your life, but don't kick him out of your heart. Still have compassion and understand. So on one respect, you can look at him and say, look, man, that's not growing up in New York, we know all we need to know about Trump from a long time
Facts.
ago.
Yes.
But when I see him too, from a Buddhist perspective, you can see the suffering. Because why would someone lie constantly? It's because they don't feel like they're worthy enough or acceptable enough as they are. So they're always making up stories to make themselves feel better about themselves because they're already at a deficit. You know,
that makes sense.
so it's easier to have compassion for people. Like I have compassion for him as a human. I don't want him in charge of anything because he lives through a different kind of way.
Yeah.
And the truth isn't important, and who he hurts isn't important, and those things are not people that people in charge should be acting through.
Yeah.
But as a human, you could just see the suffering. I mean, anyone that would paint their face orange and not accept themselves as they are is a problem, man. Deep psychological, you know, stuff from how he was raised. And, you know, I think when you become a parent, right, you see your parents in a different way, right?
100%. Yeah, like way more respect too, man.
Yeah, and like as regular people, not super people.
Yeah.
You know, just trying to do their best that they can with however they were raised and what they brought and what their parents, you know, you just see the thing, and we just keep trying to do better. So I think if we look at everybody like that, like cut people slack, man. Give people a break. You know, and I always tell people, give yourself a break too, man. You would give other people a break.
Yeah.
Give yourself a break too. People are really hard on themselves.
They really are, man. I feel like even now with social media, people are hard on themselves.
Of course. Look at all these girls that are getting all this plastic surgery. They see, like, there was this one girl, I think her Anela Sangra. She's like this fitness girl from Colombia, like gorgeous, fit, you know, whatever. And I saw a picture of her recently. I'm like, wow, man, she had plastic surgery on her face. I'm like, if someone like her feels the pressure and the need to change themselves to be more acceptable or more pretty or more whatever society deems, you know, like what chance do regular people have? You know, so it's important to tell your kids, like, man, beauty fades, all this stuff is superficial stuff, and who you are really matters, and how you treat people.
True.
And your kindness and compassion will really define you, and how you make people feel, and not getting caught up in all the superficial things that are transitory and don't matter. And what's really important in our lives. This is the most important thing as a parent, right?
It is, man.
What's really important.
I can't imagine the pressure of young kids, just with all the different, even just young girls.
Yeah.
And teenage boys, it's everything. All people, like with the social media and how you're supposed to look and act and be successful and be famous and fit in, and just all these things are just like, that's all they know. Is our kids only know social media. That's what they grew up in. We didn't have that growing. We were outside. We were skating. We were surfing. We were going to shows. We were fucking in the streets, and like, I'm so lucky to have had that being that time in my life.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the kids today, they don't know any better,
They
because
don't.
they go like, how were you touring without cell phones and and Google Maps and all this stuff? Like, we didn't know any better, and the kids today don't know any better. This is their experience, and their kids are gonna be like, how'd you do that without teleporting, Dad? You know, whatever the future holds. You know,
Or just putting a flyer on the internet and then people know where you're playing. Instead of like passing out flyers. Or just,
things are easier and things are worse, and things are better and things are worse, and you know, the general thing doesn't change. The circumstances around things may change, but our human condition doesn't change. Our jealousies, our wants, our desires, our getting caught up in stuff. They're just bombarded with more advertising, more stuff, more overstimulation. You know, but not everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you stand around looking at your phone, that's going to be the thing. But you can put it down. It's just that easy too.
I know. And life is so like just having a conversation face to face. That's what I love about the pod. I just shut my phone, put it away, have conversations. Like there's such a need for that, especially coming out of the pandemic. Just all that. But I feel like the phones, in a positive way, during the pandemic, connected a lot of people, man, around the world, going through the same stuff. We're all locked down together, and that was kind of a beautiful thing where people could actually, you could see what was going on in the places, you know what I mean, and brought people together. But there's a deep, dark hole on there too. You just get caught up in, and just
you know, I don't think I believe this. It's not the technology. It's the people that are using it.
True.
It's not religion. It's the people that abuse it. It's not government. It's the people that abuse it. The idea of government is to help the people and to make people's lives easier. If it didn't turn into that and it turned into something else, well, that's our fault. Mm-hmm. You know, the technology is there. All the information of our entire, you know, human existence is right there, and people want to look at cat pictures. Whose fault is that? I mean, so
it's true.
It's just us. It's always us. It's nothing else. You know, people go, oh, you know, people take a picture of all the kids looking at their phones, and they go, you look at pictures in the 20s and 30s, all the guys are waiting for the train looking at the newspaper.
Great point.
It's always the same, and it's just the people. It's not the technology. It's not the thing. It's us.
It's about using it or not using it, or how you use it.
It's up to us.
Yeah.
And look, man, I remember when Ronald Reagan came into power, and he tried to eradicate the Department of Education. They wouldn't let him. So he said, if I can't get rid of it, how about I just defund it?
Wow.
You know, so they started defunding education because the people who are in charge know that if people aren't educated, it's easier to take advantage. Mm-hmm. Look, we know that the people in charge of things, their only goal is to stay in charge, and they do a lot of time and resources into maintaining that kind of power. Yeah. And in a myriad of ways. So our goal is to educate ourselves and to understand how things work. And I don't know what the answer is to all of this. I don't think you can fix all of it. It's all we can do is do our best, right, in our little corner of the world. You know, Dalai Lama always would say, if you can't make things better, at least don't make things worse. So at the very least, if we cannot make things worse, okay. And if we can try to do a little better, Mother Teresa said, we cannot do great things, only small things with great love. And I'm like, I love that.
Like that too.
Right? In our little corner of the world, what do we try to do? Treat people with respect, treat people with appreciation, treat people with kindness. At a show, you know, to the crew, at the truck stop, wherever you are, just to smile and look at people in the eye and say thank you, you know, and just recognize everybody, because it takes everybody. Yeah. If the garbage men didn't show up tomorrow, our society would be a lot worse off than if the lawyers didn't show up tomorrow. But the lawyers make 5,000 times what those guys make. Yeah. You know, if you know, everybody's job is important and everybody's contribution is important, no matter how big or how small, because it takes all of us ultimately together. Yeah. And there's a lot of devaluation of people, like, you know, how many, you live in Los Angeles. I mean, how many unhoused people are there? And people blame them. A lot, man. People want to blame them too. If you didn't do this and you didn't do that, like, it's not about blame. It's about what can we do to help, because our society should be judged on the lowest of the low, not the highest of the high. Yeah. And when there's 86 people, you know, in the world that own as much as the bottom 50% of the entire population on the planet, it's immoral. And
You do a lot of reading, and you've always followed politics and news your whole life?
Since I was 16.
Wow.
Yeah, like it was a big deal. I read a book in high school called The High School Revolutionaries. I can't even believe they had it in my high school library.
Wow.
And it kind of activated me,
Okay.
But I
Question
remember
things, look into things your whole life.
And I mean, dude, I wrote Death Squad when I was like 16 about right-wing death squads in El Salvador, and
yeah, man.
So
that's crazy. You're 16.
Yeah.
Who came up with the name Sacred Reich?
Jason, our guitar player.
Okay.
I don't even know. I don't even know how the whole thing evolved. I'm a nice Jewish boy from Brooklyn, and I joined the band, and like my Uncle Sam was in Dachau and had numbers on his arm.
Oh my God.
And my grandmother's mom and 2 of her sisters were murdered. They didn't make it over. They were from Poland. They didn't make it over, and they were killed by the Nazis. So I joined the band. I was like, dude, I can't be in a band called Sacred Reich. My grandma would be like, what's the name of your band, honey? I'm like, I don't know. We're working on it, Grandma. And then we were about to change it to Animosity after my favorite Corrosion record. And then we got a record deal, and Metal Blade was like, we like the name. So that was that. And I was like, fuck, man.
Has it bothered you or no?
It always bothers me.
Okay.
But it's at this point.
People thought it was something like that?
No, man. Not really. I remember when we did Surf Nicaragua, there's a song called One Nation, and the opening line is a vision of unselfishness, a union of black and white, one nation of all races is clear within my sight. I see it clear, no hate, no fear, no soldiers sent to die, a state that's free and thrives on peace, no greed, no threat to life. And then I got a letter from some skinhead going, fuck you, fuck your band, I broke your record, I burned your shirt, what, some Jew scare you, fuck you. And I thought, yeah, I don't want a fucking asshole like you liking our band.
Anyway,
Yeah, and I think for the most part, people didn't get the wrong idea.
Yeah.
I remember we played in Omaha, Nebraska 100 years ago, and the promoter guy said, the cops came to his house and said, are you holding a skinhead rally?
What was that?
I don't know. Is that my phone?
Yeah, my phone's off.
Oh, I think it's mine. My phone's off too.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
My phone's off too. They said you're holding what, a skinhead rally?
Well, they asked the promoter because it said, so we were playing at this place called Sokol Auditorium, Sokol Polka Hall and Pickle Parlor. So it says like Matt Sladsky and the Bouncing Checks, Ernie Kucera, Sacred Reich. And I used to have a picture of the marquee.
Wow.
It was a bunch of polka bands, and then then Sacred Reich, and they were like, Sacred Reich.
Yeah.
Hey, man, you're holding a skinhead rally? They're like, nah, man, let's go. It's okay.
At least they were concerned.
Yeah. In Nebraska.
Some towns be cool.
You would think they'd just show up and fucking goose step, but you never know.
Did you have skinheads at your shows back then?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
I remember.
Such a wild time back
yeah,
then.
well, yeah, I mean, we had an issue at the Channel in Boston. Yeah, remember that night? It was fucking...
On that tour, right?
Yeah, man. I remember...
There was a lot of crazy kind of...
We were playing, and like 3 skinheads were beating up some long-haired kid, and I stopped the show, and I'm like, fucking let him go. Let him go. And one kid was sitting in the crowd like, fuck you. And I was like, and Wiley goes, dude, don't jump in the crowd. I know you're going to... Don't. I was going to go after the dude. And after the show, Wiley, our guitar player, and Scott was his guitar tech. They went out in the crowd to try to find those guys, but it was so packed they couldn't move. So they waited till after the show, and they waited by the front door to find them.
Damn.
And I sent Tim, who was Jason's guitar tech, I go, keep an eye on those guys. They're up to no good, Wiley and Scott. And they followed these guys out to their car, the guys who were starting the shit. And Scott Joel goes, you got a fucking problem? And then Tim was standing behind him and knocked the other dude out.
Holy shit.
Like just hit him right in the forehead and dropped him. And the other dude ran. And next thing you know, this girl goes, man, you guys might want to take off. And they look up and there's like 20 skinheads running top speed to get them.
Oh, shit.
And there was a 12-foot high fence. So they had to kind of run at the dudes and then through the hole in the fence to get back to the bus.
It's like a warrior, like the Warriors.
Yes, and they're running and I see it. And I ran in the club. I go, let's go. They're being chased. And the next thing I know, everybody's coming out of the buses in the club.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And, those guys were...
That's scary.
Yeah, man. And those guys stopped when they ran into all of us because it was a fair fight at that point.
Yeah.
And they stopped. And I remember our tour manager, Jim, going, I remember the dude had a big, like, he looked like he had a golf ball in his forehead, man.
Oh,
he was
shit.
fucked up. And I remember Jim going, see, now you're no better than them. Do you feel better? And Tim goes, yeah, I actually do feel better. Because the unfortunate thing about some people is that's all they kind of understand.
Mm-hmm. It was like a soundtrack for violence for people coming to shows. They didn't care about the lyrics of the message. They just want to come.
Allentown,
Gnarly,
Pennsylvania. The
gnarly
sick of all guys fucking jumped in the crowd and were macing people.
Yeah, man. That was a crazy riot, man. It was so crazy back then because there was all these Nazis coming to these shows, but all the security with these big black guys.
Yeah.
And they were sig-hollering the bands, but not fucking with the bouncers. It made no sense to me. It's like, what are you about? Like, who do you hate? What is your deal? People like the white power necklaces on, and like, it was scary, man.
It was just
like,
ignorant. It was just the
Yeah.
height of ignorance, just not understanding anything, man.
I mean, how many times Dead Kennedys played Nazi Punks Fuck Off, and there were fights during that song. You know what I mean? Like, were you ever big into punk and hardcore too? Would that come later? Or was that
Not so much.
Okay.
Like, I was on the fringe. I had a friend, Jeff, and he was super into punk and hardcore, and he would play me Discharge. I'm like, okay. And he's like, really? And he play, like, I like GBH. He played me GBH and all kinds of stuff. And they played me DRI, like Dirty Rotten LP. I'm like, yeah. He goes, really? Of all the shit I played for you, this is it? I'm like, yeah, this is the one.
so fast, man?
This is the one that does it for me.
Sort of all that, yeah.
Yeah, he played me Misfits and all kinds of stuff. I'm like, yeah, whatever, you know. I always, the thing I appreciated about punk and hardcore was just more the attitude.
Yes.
You know, I wanted to play better. You know, I was into, like I said, MDC, Corrosion, for lyrical content.
Of course.
And not, you know, just fucking going for it. But I was always more into the technical side of metal. And I always liked Stevie Wonder and that other shit, like melody and singing and...
Yeah. So not really New York hardcore stuff we liked. Probably.
Yeah. And like, I appreciate it, but the New York hardcore stuff, especially, has a very fucking macho, you know, thing that comes with it. And it was very off-putting for me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
But Agnostic Front had some crossover.
What's that?
Agnostic Front had some crossover stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate. We played it with Agnostic Front like in 1986, probably.
Damn.
You know, in Phoenix. Agnostic Front, Aggression. So we played with Broken Bones, UK Subs. They would put us on punk and hardcore shows, you know.
Yeah.
So we could play with everyone because we were super into it and super open. You know, we just wanted everybody to be cool with everybody.
Yeah, New York had a super tough, like the generations before me, like really like street, like like scary.
Yeah, I mean the Agnostic Front guys and the Cro-Mags guys, you know, and you could feel it. You know, you could really feel the intensity and the where it's from.
Yeah,
and like,
but Sick of It All had intensity, but they weren't like that.
Right.
And that was kind of bridged the gap with the other bands that weren't from the hardcore scene.
Yeah.
Not that they were safe; they were still hard, they were still intense. But they weren't like street. They weren't.
Yeah,
like,
they weren't from the street.
They weren't, yes, exactly.
So like for me, it was just foreign because I had left when I'm 12. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm a fucking suburban kid from Phoenix. You know, so that kind of energy was not like for me.
No.
Yeah, it was different. But I appreciate it and I understand it. And you could feel the desperation. This is the same thing about James Brown. I remember seeing the James Brown movie.
Uh-huh.
And when you see his upbringing and where he was from, you understand why he played like his hair was on fire. Yeah. He never forgot where he came from and always probably felt like I'm a turn of a coin away from going
my
back.
last show. Yeah. That's interesting.
So when you feel that kind of vibe, you can understand it and identify and appreciate it, you know, even if it's not your gig. You know?
Yeah, you seem like a mellow, like a more chill person.
Yeah, mostly.
And love melody, which I like.
Yeah, man.
Did you have like 7 Seconds or bands like that? You ever
had? A lot.
All right, yes.
I remember seeing 7 Seconds going, that dude should sing in our band.
Really?
Yeah, I totally thought that, like, oh man, I would love to have that guy sing in our band.
So that kind of hardcore, that melody stuff, like, yeah, Kevin Seconds, my favorite singers.
Yeah, me too.
What about like Descendants and stuff like that?
I never got into it that much. It's funny, Tony from Municipal Waste, that's his favorite band. Man.
What about Minor Threat? Like
yeah, a little bit, you know, like I was busy doing other stuff and didn't have those influences. I got into Fugazi later.
Okay.
Yeah, and that obviously it's incredible, you know, incredible.
Man.
And a big precursor to a lot of the popular music now that kind of, even before like the Pixies and stuff like that, the quiet and the loud and the dynamic part. Yeah.
What about like Quicksand?
A little bit, yeah.
You got the melodies too. Yeah. I'm a melody person too. I never like to crazy screaming hard stuff. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's why like all the death metal stuff. I could never get into it. I like singing. I just like singing.
Yeah.
You know.
When Sacred Reich came out with that style of your style with your more singing, was that kind of a breath of fresh air for people for that style of music?
I don't know.
Probably was, I think.
Yeah.
You guys stood out on that tour we did. You know what I mean? Because everything was like more hard, like harder.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I remember like going on the bus and having to listen to Depeche Mode to like just kind of decompress.
No way.
Yeah, because there was so much. You know, I mean, and every band was different, right? So Sick of It All had that killer energy and that. And then Napalm, I was like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah, like, and Barney's like, cheers. And this next song is called
I know.
You know, I was like, oh, wow.
And then Sepultura, their own style, yeah.
Yeah, I always loved Sepultura and Max, you know, with his accent. And even though he had that guttural thing, it just seemed cooler.
Yeah.
It seemed cool. I always loved them, man. Fucking great, man.
Wait, did you have any expectations of that tour or meeting like bands or like Sick of It All's on the tour? Like just coming on that tour, you remember?
We always like kind of keep to ourselves.
Yeah.
We've always just like, we're not partiers. We're not real social. Even on the tour, like we say, hey, you know, I like one-on-one stuff.
Yeah.
I don't like to be in groups of people.
Mm-hmm. Your whole life you've been like that?
Yeah.
But that was a good tour for you guys. I remember.
Yeah, it was great, you know. I feel like, yeah, I mean, I think, you know, with Sick of It All and Napalm sharing a bus, there's a lot of camaraderie that developed there. And we, you know, I was talking to somebody.
Were you guys on the bus with Sepultura?
No, we had our own bus.
Check you out. Oh,
yeah, we were on Hollywood Records at that point, so it was Disney.
Get that tour support.
Oh, man. We did a tour with Pantera when we were on Hollywood, and it cost us $80,000.
Oh my God! Just for the tour support.
5 weeks, yeah. We were making like $500 a show and in a bus with a full crew.
Just throwing money at us back then.
Fuck yeah!
It was crazy.
It was great.
Damn, it's a lot. So in the bus the whole time, yeah, $500 a show.
Well, you know, we did one van tour, and then the rest was a bus. Well, Gloria was always with us at the time, so Gloria didn't want to be in a van either. So she figured out a way to get a bus.
We'll get sponsors and stuff like that. Who knows?
Well, we would just take a merch advance and put it towards the thing, get tour support from the label. We just put ourselves in a hole.
Were you with Blue Grape merch that band? No.
No, I can't. We were with Great Southern and then somebody else. I can't remember. Blue Grape was more Roadrunner.
Okay. Yeah,
it was their Roadrunner. That was
the crazy money back then, man.
Yeah.
All the advances from merchandise, man.
Yeah.
Before 360 deals.
Well, yeah, before 360 deals. Yeah, that's what got us through all those tours. We weren't making any money.
It's crazy.
We never made any money.
Just making money on merch, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, we were. I don't even know. I was a good thing I was living at home because.
But if you went in a van, you would have had that money from tour support.
Yeah,
would have been brutal.
Yeah, we couldn't. We were spoiled. Gloria got us in a bus our second tour. We were fucking spoiled little kids.
So crazy.
I joined the band. They go, "That's your bass tech." I was like, "What? Really?"
Dude.
I joined the band. I had a crew guy.
But you've been grinding for a while before that, though. So it's like,
yeah, whatever, man.
Yeah,
we feel pretty fortunate. You know, we're pretty lucky.
So I know you've been vegan for a couple of years, vegan and vegetarian. What inspired that for you? Because real quick, like a couple of years ago, Tall's like, yo, you know Sacred Reich? I'm like, Phil, I'm like, yeah, I toured with him in 1991. I haven't seen him like freaking 30 years. Like, he comes into the restaurant. I'm like, what? That was such a cool moment.
Yeah.
Shout out to Tall from Crossroads.
Yeah, man. You know what's funny was...
How did you even walk in this Crossroads?
So, before I was vegan or even stopped eating meat, I saw the restaurant. And I admired it, and it looked incredible, and the food looked incredible. And I was like, "Wow, look at this vegan place, just crushing it."
You never even thought about it.
No, I was, like being Buddhist. I always figured there's going to be a point where I'm going to stop eating animals. Mm-hmm. And then when Dave rejoined the band, Dave was vegan. I'm like, "Fuck it, let's just do it. It's time." know. So I was commenting on some of the Crossroads post. And they said, hey, our chef's a big fan. I was like, what? I go, we're going to be out there shooting a video. We would love to come by. And they said, hey, let us know we're going to come out. We'll roll out the red carpet for you. And I'm like, who am I speaking with? And he goes, hey, this is Tall.
Wow.
And I was like, wow. So we went there. And they gave us that corner baller booth and shit.
I love that spot.
And they go, yeah, chef wants to see you in the kitchen. And he's like, hey, man, can we take a picture? I was like, what? And then he gave me a signed book. And they gave us T-shirts and hats. And then came out and was chilling with us.
He might have came to the 91 tour, maybe.
Yeah, he goes, that was the first time I saw you guys. He goes, I didn't like any metal bands, but I liked you guys because of your lyrics.
Okay, that's so cool.
So Dave's like, hey, man, send him a record because our record was done by that point. And I go, hey, you want to hear our new record? And he's like, yeah. And I sent it to him. He goes, can you send me the lyrics? And I was like, sure. And I sent him the lyrics.
He loves lyrics.
Yeah, man. And we were driving back home, and I'm getting like a track by track, his Tall's comments on the tracks. So it was obvious he was really into it. And you know him. Cool. He's so easy to. He's like one of the nicest, coolest, most genuine and generous dudes you'll ever meet. Yeah. So you meet someone like that, and you can't help but be best friends right away. You know?
He's the best freaking human, dude.
Yeah, you meet people like that, and it's like all of a sudden.
Instant, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And so you weren't vegan, and you just went and checked out the food.
Well, by that time, I was.
And what was that? Because of the Buddhists? Because of all?
Yeah, I always knew it would eventually happen.
Yeah.
And then, like when Dave joined back in the band and he's vegan, I was like, "Fuck yeah, let's do it."
Is your wife vegan too?
No, she tries to be vegetarian. She still eats meat occasionally, and
we do our best.
Yeah, and I'm not here to make her feel bad.
Nah, same. Yeah,
you just do what you can. It's not my fucking business whether you eat meat or not.
But you felt better when you made that change?
Yeah. I did it for a lot of health reasons too. And then also you don't want to be part of the suffering. And now I'm eating cheese and Dave's like, you're a fucking hypocrite.
Dude,
Dave's tough, man. And he drank a couple bottles of wine that night and he was feeling
it's impossible to be a perfect human, let alone be a perfect vegan. So at least you're trying, dude.
Yeah, man. I understand where he's coming from, and I don't take it personally, and it doesn't bother me. And I just knew I'm doing my best, and we're all just trying to do our best.
Yeah. And
whatever it is, that's what it is.
That's exactly what it is. Cheese is like the hardest thing for people to stop too. Every single person, I'm 99.9. My friend Chappelle, I'm 99.9%. I just love my cheese. That's the hardest thing to go because vegan cheese isn't the best.
No, when they crack the code for cheese, it's gonna be a great day.
I mean, there's some new ones coming, but yeah, even Tall's cheese is great, but yeah,
it's not the same.
I know. You've been to Crossroads in Vegas?
Yeah. Oh, I saw you there.
Oh, that's
the
right,
opening.
That's right, opening. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, have you been to Calabasas?
Love it.
Really? I haven't been there.
It's a really
yet.
good vibe, man.
I haven't been there yet.
Do you cook? You cook food?
Yeah.
Okay. You're a pretty good cook?
I'm pretty okay.
Okay.
My wife, she actually used to be a cook at restaurants.
Dude, what doesn't your wife do, man? I was going to say,
She's incredible. Yeah.
So you cooking a lot at home, yeah.
Yeah. She can't wait for me to get home because, we got 4 dogs and, a bunch of kids, and it's a partnership. It's a lot to do in a house and a yard and a pool, and it's a lot of upkeep. So when I'm gone,
she's running the show.
Just her, and she's still, she... About 2 years ago, she got real sick and almost died. So we're still coming back from that,
She's okay now?
Yeah. Well, mentally, I think she's back 100%. Physically, still no.
Damn, I'm sorry.
Before we left on tour, my daughter said, today's the 2-year anniversary of when the neurologist said she wasn't going to recover. The neurologist came and told me and her mom, we don't expect her to get better. This is it.
Oh, my God, man.
She's not going to make it. And I was like, what? And I had to go tell my kids.
Holy fucking heavy.
The doctor said, Mom's not going to make it. And then she got better. They were wrong. But, yeah, that was a really intense period in our life. It taught me a lot about being in the moment, not getting ahead of yourself. The night I woke up in the morning and she wasn't responsive. She wasn't waking up, and I dialed 911 and they came and they rushed her to the hospital, and her blood pressure was 40/20.
Jesus,
she was
man.
Just about to die. And she was in the ICU on a vent, and we didn't know what was going to happen, brain activity. We just didn't know. And that first night was the most anxiety I've ever had in my entire life.
I can't imagine.
And I just go, I kept thinking 11 hours from when I saw her at night to when I saw her in the morning. What if she didn't have enough oxygen for those 11 hours? Maybe she'll never make it back, 11 hours. And I was like, well, I remember just trying to say, look, you don't know what's going to happen. Maybe she makes it, and maybe she doesn't. You don't know.
Yeah.
So let's just live right now and see what happens. And then I went to bed, and they're like, the mind said, why didn't you check on her earlier? And after I coached myself off the ledge, saying, let's just be in the moment.
Stay.
And then, 11 hours, why didn't you check on her? And then the answer came, well, if you thought something was wrong, you would have.
Yeah.
So day by day, my daughter would go and she goes, I don't want mom to be a vegetable. And I said, me neither. We don't know what's going to happen.
So you have to hold it down for them too.
Yeah, man. Living with uncertainty. We all live with uncertainty to some degree,
totally.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But that was a really confrontational way to deal with it. And it was, we're lucky. Andreas, we toured with Sepultura and went to Europe with them, and Patricia passed away.
Yes, that's horrible, man.
She was battling cancer for a long time, and they thought she had beat it.
Yes.
And it came back. So how do you deal with that?
Can't even imagine, man.
And I saw him, and we know Patricia forever. I mean, they moved to Phoenix for a long time, and he's very stoic, and he's really into the Stoics, and he's just said life goes on, and that's the truth. I mean, ultimately, this is the truth.
It is the truth.
But some people can deal with it better than others. Mm-hmm. I have a friend, Mark, my director friend. His wife went in for a procedure and died. Like vomited, aspirated, and died.
Oh my God.
And he had a 2-year-old daughter at the time,
Oh man.
And I remember he sent me a message one day. He goes, I think I'm finally dealt with it. And it was 15 years.
15 years. Wow.
Everybody, what's grief and how do we deal with it? And Mark is really a kind of really thoughtful and emotional and kind of deep dude. So sometimes if we overthink stuff, as a lot of us are prone to do, I don't know if it helps.
I mean, I still maybe, I think about my dad, because my dad died when I was 3. He's still maybe like not over it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. There's a lot of questions.
Do you get over it? You don't get over it. You learn to live with it. Yeah. Maybe you learn to have it in its spot, and you accept it for what it is.
Totally.
But you can't get over these things.
No, man.
There's still a hole in your heart, and it's never going to go away.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, yeah, thank you. I'm so happy your wife, though, man. She turned it around, and that's...
Yeah, we're really lucky, man. Like, it's not guaranteed, our friend Kevin from the heavy metal shop up in Salt Lake City, his wife Angie, she had pneumonia. She wasn't recovering. She wasn't getting better. They said, it's really weird. And she went back to the hospital, and they said, oh, it's because you have leukemia. And she died like a week later.
Jesus, man.
Yeah, his wife of 38, 40 years.
Are you obviously you're not scared of death?
No. Yeah. I'm not in a hurry.
Yeah, same.
But, I mean, this is the one thing Sandy said, too. She goes, that whole experience for me, no, I'm not afraid of dying.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
And I think, it's a perception thing. I believe in reincarnation, so there's no real end. There's an end in this reality for us, or this, whatever it is, and then life is a never-ending cycle of
I really hope it's like that.
Death and rebirth.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that too. I feel like we don't just shut off and then that's it. Like,
well, physics say that energy doesn't get destroyed; it just changes form. I mean, so I can't explain it, and I don't think we're aware of our previous lives or past lives in this iteration. And when we die, that's just the end of this thing, and it goes on to something else, and we probably won't be aware of it unless we achieve like a much higher level of consciousness. This is the whole thing about Buddhism. If you achieve enlightenment, they say enlightened beings can see their past lives and their future lives and are in control of their rebirths. Well, so there's that. For, whether people want to believe this or not.
No, I know.
It doesn't matter.
Because I feel like my dad's been watching over me and my family for my whole life, and my grandparents and people I've lost, and I really feel like that's true, and I want that to be the case. It's like I want to be able to like watch because there's gonna be a time where I'm not on the planet with my son, like no matter what, like, or God forbid something happens to me before I die of old age or whatever, but like I want to be able to watch over him and see what happens with his life. It's like, and I don't want to be morbid, but I think about that sometimes because I am 53, he's 20, I can see my end and his is just starting, and it's just like, it's crazy to think about, man. It's just like, just want to be here forever because we love life so much. You know what I mean? It's
but you know the thing is this is the attachment issue. You know, we can have attachment to things that are harmful for us. We can have attachment to wonderful, beautiful things.
True.
But the attachment is still the attachment. And the attachment is what causes our suffering, whether it's the good stuff, bad stuff, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it's being able to let go.
Yeah.
You know, they said, you know, death can come as an angel or a devil. It's just how hard you're holding on. If you're ready to let go, then it comes as an angel. Hey, come with me.
Yeah.
And if you're like, no, fucking, I'm not done yet. It's like, okay, here's the sword.
Yeah.
You don't get to choose, you know, when and where. So, you know, there's one teacher who says, in the end, all that's left is to let go. So if we just start letting go now, there'll be less to let go in the end.
Yeah.
Because we have to let go. That's part of the healing. If we keep these attachments to these people in our lives that are gone, it just creates suffering. Because they're gone. We have an attachment to the memory. We attachment to these things, but lightly.
We'll look forward to being with them someday.
Yeah, if we are or
if
not.
we are or not.
But,
yeah.
you know, eventually we're all just going to be a memory. So let's make it a good memory.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, memory is crazy.
That's it. I mean, you know, my dad passed away about 2 years ago. And the same thing, like, I think about it, sometimes it makes me sad, you know, and that I'll never get to see him again.
Yeah.
You know, well, I still have those times that we were together. And that has to be enough.
Yeah, how old was he when he died?
82. No, not super old.
No. In this day and age, too, that's like, it's crazy.
My grandma was 92. She lived a long time.
Yeah.
My mom's in hospice now. Like, she doesn't probably have a lot longer. You know, she's 78.
Oh, wow, man.
Yeah. And before we went to Australia, I thought that she was going to pass away, like the night before we were leaving. I was like, wow. And she rallies. She's tough. But it's weird thinking like those are your parents.
I know.
You know, and them being gone. And I go, it's a special kind of alone, I think. Even if you're older, you have your own family.
Yeah,
those are your parents, man.
I know, man. My mom's still alive. She's like almost 80. She lives out here. Fuck.
I remember when my dad died, and I had friends whose parents passed away. And I called them back up, and I was like, man, I'm really sorry. I didn't understand what it meant to you. Like, you don't know until it happens to you. You know,
for sure.
Most of these things in life, you know, you don't really know until you have the experience.
Yeah.
This is the thing about raising kids, right? We have the experience. We're trying to save them from falling into the same holes that we've, you know, save them from the sufferings that we've had. You know, hey, I've been through this before. I'm trying to help you out. And I tell my kids all the time, look, I don't expect you to listen to me because I didn't listen to my parents. And what, are you going to be the first kids that ever listen to their parents in the history of kids and parents?
Yeah.
But I'm going to just tell you this anyhow. You know, I'm going to take it for what it's worth. But the most important things in life anyhow, they need to figure out for them. You're not going to take anyone's word for it either, are you?
No, yeah.
Even if someone you respect who's been through it and they're giving you advice and you're like, yeah. But then you still got to do it anyhow.
Go through it yourself, yeah.
Because that's life.
Yeah. Do you have any major regrets in your life?
My kind of regrets are I just wish I was nicer to everybody along the way, the whole time.
I can't see you being a jerk. Okay.
ask my wife and kids. They'll tell you. Well, you know, like I remember just being, you know, like I was 16, 17 in a band, thought I was fucking cool. You know, I told my wife, like, you don't understand, you don't understand. You never had a fucking passion and a fucking, you know, she's like, you're such a fucking asshole. You know, she's like, fuck you. You know, she would always tell me, you know, like, fuck your band. She goes, it's great and all, but at the end of the day, when all that bullshit's over, who's going to be here for you? Your wife and your family. So fuck all that.
She was right.
And she was right. And I would say to her, why the fuck did you stick around when I was such an egotistical douche? And she would say, I know you always had it in you.
Oh, man. It's fucking awesome, man.
Yeah, even when I didn't know, you know.
Yeah.
And she stuck it out, you know.
That's beautiful,
yeah,
man.
It's life is crazy, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm really lucky to have someone like her in my life, you know.
Yeah. What a rock. What a badass.
Yeah,
what
man.
a just really real partner, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Fuck, women,
it's a big
man.
deal. Yeah. You know. And she's a nurse, and I would always tell her, if nursing was a male-dominated field, you'd be making 10 times as much, you know? And when are we just going to get out of the way?
Mm-hmm.
Look what we've done.
Yeah.
Robin Williams did a thing 100 years ago. He goes, look, a woman should be president. A woman would never start wars. A woman would never do this. He goes, every 28 days there would be intense negotiations, but there would never be a war.
It's true, man.
Yeah, because women are the bringers of life.
Everything, man.
You know, and women hold every family down, and women are the people that make our world really the kind, gentle, and caring place that it is.
Yeah.
And we're a bunch of dumb fucking dudes who think we're in charge, and we need to stop and get out of the fucking way, and
really
everything
true.
will probably be a lot better.
I know.
But
yeah.
maybe we'll learn at some point.
Yeah, it's true about men. We're just like fucking.
We're dumb.
Yeah, we're dumb.
We're fucking dumb, especially in groups.
Mm-hmm.
We're really dumb.
Especially in groups.
Yeah. Yeah. So
maybe we'll have a woman president someday. That'd be amazing, man.
yeah, everyone else has.
I know.
It's just, well, imagine it. The biggest warmongering, arms dealing, government overthrowing bully on the entire planet hasn't had a female president yet. I wonder why.
Crazy, bro. If you think about it like that.
You know, someone said, the United States is great about making all these movies about these plucky rebel upstarts, trying to overthrow the empire. He's like,
Yeah.
You are the empire.
Yeah.
Like we watch Star Wars and we root against Darth Vader and we don't realize we are Darth Vader.
Yeah, it's crazy though. Sometimes we do root for the bad guys in those movies. We see like the good in them and stuff,
Yeah, because that's who we are.
I know.
Politically, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever, man. It's awful, but things are changing. I mean, I think it's going to be strange when America understands it's not really the world's superpower anymore, which it already isn't.
Yeah.
And China is really taking the lead, and China's building alliances with other countries out of mutual help, developing Africa, making loans, building schools, building roads.
Yeah.
And it's the future is not about building military power and threatening people. It's building cooperation and realizing that we're all in this together and there's no point of really having enemies.
Yeah.
And that ultimately, no matter where you live or what language you speak or where you go, people all want the same thing, whether it's the U.S. or China or Russia or Iraq, Iran, and Africa and Australia and in Europe. Everybody wants a nice life for their family, that their kids to be happy
safe
and healthy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, to have a meaningful life and not to struggle. Everybody wants the
100%,
same thing.
man.
And we need to look past all the bullshit, and just work together. Everybody just needs to work together. It's not that hard.
I know, man.
And it feels better.
It does feel better.
And it's the natural way that we are meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
Someone said, no, people are bad. I'm like, if people were bad, you would walk outside and get attacked by a machete. People would be running lights and smashing into each other. Yeah. It's amazing with all the billions of people on the planet that we're doing pretty well.
Pretty good, dude. Yeah, it's so true.
So that's people's real nature.
Mm-hmm. Are you an optimist or pessimist?
Optimist.
I totally see that, dude.
Yeah, man. There's this teacher. His name's Bob Thurman. It's Uma Thurman's dad.
Oh, wow.
And he was one of the first Westerners to be ordained a Tibetan monk. He had a Mongolian monk in New Jersey where he was living. He said, I want to be a monk. I want to be a monk. The guy said, no, you don't. There's no support system for you. You can't be a monk. He kept bugging him for years. He said, well, I'll take you to India. Maybe Dalai Lama will make you a monk. So Dalai Lama makes him a monk. And about 2 years in, he decides it's not for him. He goes, Dalai Lama was mad at me. He didn't talk to me for 2 years. He goes back to New Jersey, and he doesn't have anything. He's got his monk robes and a bowl. He goes, I have no money. I have no clothes. I have no anything. What am I supposed to do? And the Mongolian monk opens up the closet, goes in, and takes out his clothes and gives it back to him and says, I knew you weren't going to make it.
Wow.
Gave him back his stuff. And then he was the head of Tibetan Indo Studies at Columbia University in New York. He's got a wonderful podcast, the Bob Thurman podcast. And he would say, we're all trending towards enlightenment. We're all trending. We're all heading towards enlightenment, no matter how long it takes or whatever it is. And when you really zoom out and you look at hunger, life expectancy on the planet, it's getting better.
Yeah.
We can zoom in and say, oh shit, look at this, look at that. Okay. But on a macro level, things are getting better.
Yeah.
And I look at the kids, I look at my kids, I'm like, yeah, they'll save us from ourselves.
Same, I think so. Yeah, yeah.
They're more kind, they're more compassionate, more understanding. They don't care about fucking gay people or transgender. None of those things matter. They're like, let people be how they want to be.
Yeah.
You know, let's do something positive.
I love that. I love that this generation of kids like that age.
You know what?
Trying to make a difference, man.
And what kind of drives me nuts is my oldest son, Zach, was a philosophy and history major in school. And he was reading me this thing, and it was like someone saying, you know, the kids today are disrespectful. They have no respect for the old ways. They're not smart, and they're lazy, and, you know, the world's going to hell in a handbasket. It was 5,000 years ago, and it was these ancient Greek philosophers saying this.
Wow.
So this is always the same, too.
Yeah.
It's the older generation doesn't understand the newer generation, and they want to denigrate them and say, oh, kids today.
Yeah.
Like, shoot me if I'm become that guy.
Mm-hmm. I never would have become that guy.
No, man. And you can see it, right? You see it in some other people.
For sure.
Fucking kids today. Like, just stop, man.
Or just that music, just everything, yeah.
Just stop. The kids today are way ahead of where we were. And
so compassionate, so conscious of the environment, the planet.
They're better than we were. It's great. That's how it should be.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it should be. They should keep getting better.
Yeah, all the kids during like all the riots, just everything happening the past couple years, all the kids who came forward and speaking out.
And think about, you know,
man.
look, we obviously know the terrible part of millions of people that died in the pandemic and all the horrible things that happened, economic trouble for a lot of people. The flip side is all those protests were allowed to happen because people weren't going to work.
Mm-hmm.
I think in some way it was the universe's way of saying, slow down.
100%. You're on a timeout. Yeah.
And for me personally, if that wasn't going on, I would have been on tour. Who knows if anyone would have found my wife. My parents were sick, and we moved my parents in with us. I wouldn't have been able. I mean, there were a lot of benefits for me personally.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have happened otherwise. So there's always, like, once again, all the most wonderful things that are happening are also happening at the same exact time as some of the most horrible things, and they're all together, and they all come together, and you can't separate them from one another. So true. But so if you can see the good part in the dark, you're okay. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, when we play, there's a song called Awakening, you know, title track. And it talks about, like, I went through a really bad depression, probably about 5 years, you know, when I was just working and feeling meaningless and on the wrong path.
What's your purpose and all that question?
Yeah, I was on the wrong path.
Yeah.
And Sandy would say, you need to do music. You need to do music. And it talks about, you know, just living in a fog, wasting every day. I'd lost my way, you know, and all of us go through dark times in 100%. Our life. You know, my best friend killed himself 12 years ago, my best friend Jeff. And I just think, man, it's a permanent solution for a temporary problem.
Yes.
Because nothing lasts. That's good. So when bad times are happening, just keep going because they're not going to last.
Yeah.
And when good things are happening, appreciate them because they're not going to last too, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, someone said, someone asked a teacher, how do you sum up Buddhism? He said, everything changes.
It's true. Yeah. Just getting through all the different,
Change is the one constant. We know that everything's changing. And this is the part about attachment. This is why attachment leads to suffering, because you get attached to an idea or a thing and you think that it's going to remain the same. But if we know that everything is impermanence, that even what you think is the thing that you're attached to isn't really what you think it is. And it's already changed. So it's that attachment to things, knowing that, like, impermanence isn't what makes you suffer. It's your misunderstanding of impermanence, that you think things are permanent. That's what makes you suffer.
How about, like, not only your children? Like, we make these kids, we raise them, but they're not ours. Like,
no.
They can just leave. That's crazy too. Like, it's just like,
and they don't listen to you. They don't listen.
They don't.
Who loves them more than you? Who's trying to look out for them more than you? Who's trying to save them all the suffering and the hardships than you? And they're like fucking oblivious.
Yeah, I know it's crazy if you tell your kid one thing and he doesn't listen about it, but then somebody else tells him the same thing and like, oh, so-and-so told me this. I'm going to try. I'm like, what? They want to hear from somebody else, not you. It's happened a million times.
Yeah, of course.
Even becoming full vegan wasn't because of me.
Yeah.
It was because of a podcast guest he saw in my kitchen. I'm like,
Yeah.
I've been here the whole time.
Yeah.
Just stuff like that, but just like, but yeah, they're not ours, man.
That's about understanding that that control is an illusion.
Mm-hmm.
There's no such thing as control. We can barely control ourselves, let alone trying to control somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, is just thinking you have control. Once we were talking about it a little earlier, thinking that I have an idea of how the world should be, and when it doesn't match, I get upset.
Yes.
Like, well, I have an idea of what my kids should do. When that doesn't happen, I get upset. I have an idea of how my day should go. I have an idea how people should talk to me. And when they don't talk to me like that, I get upset. Whose fucking fault is that?
Yeah.
So we're in control of ourselves and our thoughts and ideas, hopefully. And then we just need to train ourselves to say, okay, if someone says something mean to you, it's probably because they're having a hard time today.
100%.
And it's not about you, and not let it bother you. And when
I wish people could see it like that. I mean,
everyone can. It just takes practice.
Yeah.
And they need to hear it. And sometimes you hear it and you're ready for it. Sometimes you can hear it 100 times and it doesn't mean anything.
Exactly.
The 101st time that's the whole idea of advertising, isn't it?
Over and over again.
Yeah, they keep fucking slamming that shit in your face.
Great point.
That's what it is.
Fuck, until you do it and give in.
Yeah. So
I feel like you should be a teacher or like a professor or something.
a high school dropout. Yeah, they're gonna.
Doesn't matter though. You have so much like gems and knowledge.
For years, I thought about writing a book.
Yeah.
And then I think, who the fuck am I to write a book? Like,
what kind of book? About your life?
No. So I did an interview with this magazine, Lion's Roar, and it's a Buddhist magazine. We talked about the record and the Buddhist themes in Awakening, and I said, I have an idea forever about writing a Buddhist book, and it's called 2 Letters to Happiness. And he's like, what are the letters? I go, okay. It's just accepting things as they are. If you say okay to everything. And he goes, I don't know about the title. 2 letters, they might think like letters, like writing a letter. I go, who the fuck thinks that? Mm-hmm. And if people get it wrong, they get it wrong. That's my title.
That's an incredible
2
title.
Letters to Happiness.
I love that.
Because it's that simple. And I think that's the whole idea in general, Buddhism. It's one of the things that I love about Buddhism is that we all have Buddha nature. And Buddha just means enlightenment, right? So we all have enlightenment nature. It's already in us. It's not outside. You don't have to go somewhere else. It's already there. And we just really need to uncover it. Yeah. It's just discovery, uncovering it, letting it happen. Mm-hmm. So I just think it is simple. It takes practice and takes, you got to do it. But it's already there. And this is that thing about searching outside. Is that, people are predicating their happiness on causes and conditions. When I get this, I'll be happy. If this happens, I'll be happy. When this happens to me, when I get this job, or I get this boyfriend or girlfriend, or I get this car, or
then I'll do that. Oh, yeah.
I get this piece of chocolate cake, or whatever it is, And so that is a causal relationship, and that's a transitory thing, and that's something that's always going to be changing. And like if we said that everything is impermanence, and you want a red sports car, and by the time you get it, it's not really what you thought it was in the first place, or that job promotion, or that girl, or that guy, or whatever it is. Counting on outside things to make us happy will never bring us true everlasting happiness. So if we need to find it in ourselves, what does it mean? How do we find that happiness? And it's that happiness outside of causes and conditions. So it's that happiness saying, I accept things as they are. I expect nothing. I accept what comes to me. I know that life is going to be full of ups and downs, and I'm ready for it. Yeah. And this is the ride, and I'm going to smile through it, and I'm going to understand when things are bad, it's okay, because it's not going to last. And when things are good, I'm going to appreciate it, and I'm going to look at everybody and understand they're going through the same thing. Yeah. And I'm going to be open to everyone and treat everyone the best I can. Because what can we do? What's the key to our life? What's our purpose? Yeah. Is to treat everybody with kindness and love and compassion that we encounter. Yeah. To make our little corner of the world a little bit better. What did Dalai Lama say? If you can't make things better, at least don't make things worse. So if our goal is to at least not make things worse, and to try to bring a little happiness, a little sunshine in people's day.
I love that, man.
I mean, what else can we do?
I know.
In every interaction and everything, to look people in the eye and to know that, thank you, I appreciate you. You're valuable. There's a line in...
I wish the whole world acted and thought like this, man.
It would change everything overnight. I mean, we could change our planet overnight by just being more kind and compassionate and understanding and putting other people first. It's just
a lot of people are just selfish and stuck.
It's just a small change. It's a small change.
But so many people just live like in this tunnel vision, just living their life and them, and me, and don't care about other people. And
that's what they're taught, That's what they're. I mean, think about people that carry guns and see enemies everywhere. Those people really see enemies everywhere, and they think there's threats everywhere. It's just a different way to look at the world.
Yeah,
I never look at that. I walk down the street. I don't worry about anything.
Same.
I don't see threats. I just see regular people, man, that are just trying to do the best they can. And some people are in bad situations, man.
Yeah.
I see, you see those kids on the street and they're fucking suffering, man. And maybe they have a drug problem because maybe they were raised in a fucked up way and they just self-medicating because they hurt so bad.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, you did it to themselves. They want to punish people. Thich Nhat Hanh said, when you see someone else's suffering and someone is being mean or having a hard time, that's their suffering spilling over.
Yeah.
They don't need punishment. They need kindness and understanding.
Like just throwing people to the wayside, not trying to help them. It's so bad. All the people downtown and Skid Row and stuff. Just like, fuck, these people all have stories. They have parents. Where did they come from?
I see those people and I go, that's someone's daughter. That's someone's son. Like, fuck, man.
I know.
It's heartbreaking.
I wish I could talk to all of them, interview them all, just try to help people. But
it's just heartbreaking.
It is, man.
It's hard, and no one cares.
No one cares.
No.
That's why they push them downtown.
Yeah.
But they're fucking human beings with hearts and.
That's someone's daughter. That's someone's son. Look, man, in our family, we've dealt with serious drug addiction. So I have a personal experience with that. Yeah. And just know that no one wants to live like that. No, and they're suffering, and there's not a lot of resources. And to think if you're on something like opiates or something, that quitting is like hell.
And possibly deadly on some of that stuff. Yeah.
And you know that it's going to be so hard and so much suffering and just violently ill. And if people even want to get out of it, then where do you get the help? Yeah. Where do you even begin? Yeah. And you just, if you have to go through a week or two of total fucking hell, shitting yourself and pissing yourself and vomiting and thinking you're going to die to get the rest of your life, you give up one thing to get the rest of your life back. And it's hard.
But there's like nobody even there talking to them or helping them, and people it's like.
And you think of what's the cause in the first place,
Where it stems from.
What happened? What was the trauma? What was the suffering? Yeah.
I feel like me and you, we've done our best to raise our kids with compassion and love and open-mindedness and love and all that, and that's where it starts in the home. Racism, everything is all in the home, and so like I feel like. Obviously, when just talking to you now and feeling your passion, like that's how we raise our children, to go out there in the world and just be very compassionate humans. That's the best we can do. Yes. That's our job, to be role models and lead by example. And fuck, man.
What you said is so true, because I think I thought about this a lot. Like, as a parent, if you never said anything to your kids about how to be or anything, and you just role modeled it, it would be enough. Because you think about kids that were abused and grow up and become abusers, you would think it seems counterintuitive. Seems like the last thing they would ever be. But the example is so strong that it's hard to overcome. Mm-hmm. So
it's really true. Hurt people. Be
the change you want to see. Be the change. Just do it. Mm-hmm. Don't talk about it. Just fucking do it. Yeah. So that's why those are my favorite lyrics on that whole record, Manifest Reality. It says, search for answers near or far. But it says, but you are perfect just the way you are.
Love that too, man.
There's a thing, I got to see if I can find it. It's this teacher, it's Ajahn Chah. And he's a Thai Buddhist. And I love him. And he said, I went all over looking for places to meditate. I didn't realize it was already there in my heart. All the meditation is right there inside of you. Birth, old age, sickness, and death are right there within you. I traveled all over until I was ready to drop dead from exhaustion. Only then, when I stopped, did I find what I was looking for inside of me.
That's amazing.
He said, no one and nothing can free you but your own understanding.
Yeah.
It's your own journey.
Yeah. No, it's crazy that you sing in a band called Sacred Reich, like in a metal band, and there's so much more to you that I learned today. I know you for many years, but just also just reconnecting with you. But people on the outside, they see that music or hear that music, don't even read the lyrics, hear the aggression, the sound, the look. But you're just like a really sweet, compassionate fucking human. It's crazy, man. It's beautiful.
Well, it's funny at the shows, like,
and your lyrics, man.
It's funny at the shows, like I talk about the songs.
Yeah.
You know, this song is about trying. When we play Manifest, I said, this is about creating the world in which we want to live, and how can we do it? Because we know no politician's ever going to help us. That's not really their job.
Hell no.
So how do we do it? I'm like, if you want more love in the world, you have to be more love.
Yes.
You want more kindness in the world, you have to be more kindness. You want more compassion, you have to do it. No one is coming to save us.
No.
It's only up to us.
Yeah.
So I go, be the change you want to see and manifest reality. That's it.
Yeah.
It's just that simple.
Yeah. I feel like you've been writing lyrics like this for years, though, like just all kinds of...
Yeah, it was a lot more political stuff, and there was a lot of stuff. It was always right there, like what my wife said. She said, I know you always had it in you.
Yeah.
Like,
man.
it was always there. I just had to suppress the ego and the always thinking that you're right and all that kind of selfish bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
I had to vacate that. I had to offload that crap to let all the good stuff really just take over.
Yeah. How old are you now?
53. 1969, baby.
I'm 1970. Awesome, man. You feel like you're in a good place in your life now?
Fuck yeah. It just keeps getting better. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I remember hitting 30 going, fuck, I can't believe I made it out of my 20s. Goddamn. And then 40 was better. And
I
50.
love the 50s, man.
Yeah,
I feel
man.
so good. I don't know what it is, man. I feel like the best I've ever felt, man.
And you feel less like an idiot.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I feel like less like an
worry
idiot.
about way less, too.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Little things don't bother me. It's just like...
Yeah. Jerry Seinfeld was talking like when he hit 60. He said something like, he goes, people ask me to do something. He goes, now I just go, no.
Yeah.
He goes, I just go, no.
Just saying no.
He goes, I can't wait till I'm 70 and I just turn around and walk away. I don't even say no.
Wow.
Because, you get older, right? And you, hopefully, you are okay with who you are.
Totally.
Like this is, as a band, as being in a band.
Yep.
And saying like, all right, we are who we are. We do what we do. Some people are going to like it. Some people won't. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Let's just be the best us, whatever us is.
And have fun, dude.
Yeah, man. And as a person, like, this is who I am. I would talk to my wife, and through her whole illness, she like put on weight. Like, she was always incredibly active, doing her nursing. It's like 12 hours a day. And she would do like 10, 12 miles. And,
damn.
And she's like, I'm just not happy where I am physically. I go, well, what you just need to do is love yourself where you're at. And then if you want to make steps, then do the things you need to do to be where you want to be.
100%.
But that's the same thing like with the kids. You got to love them where they're at.
Yeah.
Even when it's really hard, even when it's a challenge, even when they're doing things that you can't even believe they're doing.
Yeah.
And you just got to love people where they're at.
Yeah.
And she's always really good about reminding me. Like, sometimes you want to punish people. You want to show them the way. And are we doing them a disservice? And she's like, love is the fucking answer. Always.
I love that, man.
Man, I mean, that song Mind Games, John Lennon. I remember I was going through a big change in my life. And I was listening to Legend. And I was like, he's talking right to me. It's like mind games and watching the wheels and thinking about, he left the Beatles and everybody's like, aren't you missing it? And he's just sitting there watching his son grow up and,
yeah, man.
And you're trying to tell that guy, that guy was in the fucking Beatles. He knows it's all bullshit and it's all a fucking illusion. It's an illusion.
Yeah.
All that stuff. It doesn't mean anything. It's great and it's wonderful. And they're a wonderful, incredible band that made a big contribution to music and change.
Totally.
But so what?
So, yeah. Fuck, man. This has been such a great conversation with you, man.
Thank you for having me.
Of
I've
course,
been looking forward to it.
Me too, but just getting to know even more. Like, we never even talked like this on 1991.
Yeah. This is why I don't like being around groups of people.
Yeah.
And I like one-on-one. And I don't like a ton of small talk. I like to go deep, man.
No.
I like to really talk about I want to find out where people are coming from and what's important
Yeah,
to them.
I got really deep with you. Like and I love that you shared so much today. And just like I love you more as a person. Like everything, your whole come up where you're at now, everything you've been through, and the person you are. It's awesome, man.
Yeah,
I think for the listeners too, like who know the band and maybe hearing you talk for the first time or anything, it's fucking cool, man. I learned a lot too. You dropped a lot of gems, man, just about life and stuff, and because I get caught up in my stress and reality and the future and this and that, and
it's hard, man. Life comes. What did Ferris Bueller say? Life comes at you fast.
Yeah,
and it's easy to get caught up, and it's easy to worry about stuff. And look, man, we live a very precarious life.
Yeah.
My son Leo's 21. He loves to play music, plays guitar, he plays drums, plays bass, likes to sing. He goes, "What do you think?" I go to fucking school, man.
Yeah.
I go, "You're great at school. You're really bright." I go, "You're 21. I'm not saying you can't do it, but what I'm saying is you can." I
go to still play.
Well, I go, you can always jam with your friends. You could be in a band. You can record music, but have a career and have a nice life. I go, you see the struggle, dude. You see our struggle, and I don't want it for you.
Yeah.
But look, man, if he decides to play music, I would never try to dissuade him.
Totally.
Because it's the greatest thing you could ever fucking do, and
It
I
is.
wouldn't change a thing. And we're so lucky. We get to do the greatest thing ever. You get to play music, travel around the world, and
with
it's
your friends.
It's the coolest thing you could ever do. I know. So when people say, young people in bands, like, "What's your advice?" I go to school.
Yeah.
And they go, "No, man, I got to." I go, "No, man, go back to school. Fuck this shit." And they're like, "No, man, I got to do it. I got to do it." I go, "Well, good. Then go do it."
Yeah.
Because that's the attitude you have to have. You have to really want to.
You have to really want to do
You
it,
can't
man.
be doing
You
it
can't
for
half-ass
money
it.
or chicks or whatever.
fame.
Yeah, none of it.
No, man, do it straight out of love, man.
You have to do it because there's something inside of you that won't be happy unless you do it. And I found out. I tried to do other things. I was successful at other things.
So you were missing it.
I was fucking.
A hole in your heart, maybe.
I literally want to kill myself every day.
Fuck.
And I thought, I'm a horrible example. I'm a terrible person. My family would be better off without me.
Jesus.
But I would never do it.
Yeah.
But I thought about it, how I would do it, what I would do.
Damn.
Yeah, every fucking day. And I just knew I was
like a
miserable.
failure in music?
I felt like a failure in life.
Okay.
Like when I split up with my wife,
Yeah.
we were split up for like 2 years
Damn.
and divorced for 6 months before we got remarried. But when she left and I realized I was a failure at the only thing that really was important, the band shit, whatever, man.
Yeah.
The only thing that was really important was my family, and I failed. I crashed and burned. Now it's too late, and I realized it too late, and it was devastating.
Fuck.
And then I was like, you got to change, man. And that's what, started me on a different road.
Yeah. Were your kids? How old were your kids then when you got divorced?
They were like 6 and 8. And I started going to the Buddhist group and meditating all the time. And it was probably the best human I've ever been in my life, you know, when I was working at a bank and I had banker hours. So I was able to go to all the group stuff and lead meditation. And I was really, really into all the weekend I was able to really dive in head first.
Yeah.
And it really helped
It
out.
saved your life in a sense. It put you on a different path.
It really did. It's been the greatest thing for me personally. It allowed everything to happen.
Yeah.
I don't think otherwise my life would be where it's at today.
Or you get your wife back if you didn't even do that, maybe.
Yeah.
Not.
Yeah, probably not. I mean,
Damn.
there was a lot. It was everything. It's not for everybody, right?
Yeah.
But it is for me.
Yeah.
And even my wife last year, she goes, "I'm not Christian anymore." She was raised, she goes, I go, "You're not?" She goes, "Yeah, I think I'm Buddhist." And she told her mom, and her mom goes, "Phil got to you." She's like, "Mom, Phil didn't get to me."
Damn, she's been on her own. She's
yeah. Well, she would come with me to teachings. She goes, "It just makes sense." I go,
that's
"Look,
nice.
When I was in community college when I was 18, and I took world religions class, and at 18, Buddhism made the most sense.
Yeah, out of everything. Yeah.
And it took another 12 years for me to actually start practicing.
Were you raised Christian or Catholic?
Jewish.
Oh, that's right. Duh, my bad.
I went to yeshiva, dude. I went to
bad.
like Hebrew school. Like I would have Hebrew in the morning and English. I went to private school.
Wow.
and it never stuck. I never believed it. Like, I'm Jewish culturally, you know. And like I said, my aunt and uncle were in Dachau, and like, and you grow up in Brooklyn. I didn't know there was anything else other than Jewish or Catholic. I didn't know other religions existed. But it never really made any sense to me. Like, I would hear everything. I'm like, yeah, sure.
Well, you celebrated the Jewish holidays growing up?
Oh, yeah. You know, yeah. But and my family was, obviously my uncle was in Dachau, so he was very religious, you know. And my aunt and uncle, my mom's sister and her husband, they keep kosher and stuff.
Okay.
So it's around. It's just, I don't believe in God, so it's a bit of an issue.
Yeah. That's a big problem.
You know, and I think that's okay. My wife became Catholic for a little while.
Oh, wow.
And she went through the OCI program, and I was talking to her sponsor, and she's like, oh, your wife says you're Buddhist. You know, Buddhists believe in God, right? And I was like, well, you know, probably shouldn't have this conversation. Like, it's okay.
What about new cigarette music?
We're working on it. Yeah,
Awesome.
I thought we were actually going to go record a record
during
the pandemic. And then my wife got sick and everything stopped. But we have like maybe 6 or 8 songs in various stages.
Yeah.
So our goal is this tour ends today.
Yep.
And then we got Europe in the summer, and then Europe in the fall, and then hopefully in the new year go record a new record.
When are you in Europe this summer?
End of July, August.
Same, me too, yeah. Maybe we'll cross paths on a festival.
That would be
or something.
great, man.
I love Europe in the summer. I love the festivals.
Fuck yeah.
I look forward to it so much, man.
Touring in Europe is the best because they just treat you like humans, man.
The food, just everything.
All the venues have showers. They cook for you.
I know. Nice vegan options.
Oh my God.
It's
really a very humane way to tour. Like in the U.S., it's like the fucking Wild West. It's like, here's some water and a couple towels. Enjoy yourself.
But this tour's going good.
Yeah, the tour's been great. Like all the guys in the bands are killer, and everyone commented.
Are you seeing younger fans coming out too, seeing you for the first time?
Well, yeah, I think, Municipal Waste brings a lot of younger people.
Yeah.
And, it's great to watch Creeping Death, like this young death metal band. It's not really my jam.
Yeah.
But I fucking like them and I appreciate them, and you can see the sincerity.
Yeah.
And that's all you're really looking for anyhow. Like,
of course.
Do these fuckers mean it?
Are you listening to new music? Like, do you pay attention to new music at all? Or
like the newest band I like is Turnstile.
Yeah, let's go. That's everybody on this podcast will mention that.
Yeah, because I remember, it's funny. There's lyrics on one of the new songs. I'm drawing a blank right now. It's
on your songs or Turnstile?
Yeah, and it name checks. Fuck.
You name check a band?
Well, it's Nonstop Feeling. It's that you can't stop the nonstop feeling. It's from that song.
That is fucking awesome, man.
Yeah, and then I remember getting the new record, and I was like, wow, it's really like they really went for it. They're not afraid.
Not afraid.
And
to be themselves and try different things.
Yeah, because you can get stuck in your own prison that you create for yourself.
And worry about what the fans are going to think or people are going to think, yeah.
And it fucking is amazing, and it's just blowing up like
huge,
it's like, I don't really know those guys.
Great kids.
But it's like, I feel like they're my kids, and I'm so fucking proud.
Yeah.
And I hate to say, I never tell my kids like I'm proud of you, because it feels like, I told my son Zach, I go, I don't want to say I'm proud of you, because I feel like then I'm taking some sort of credit for all your hard work.
True.
So all I can say is I admire you. I admire what you've accomplished, because you did it, not me.
Yeah.
So it's weird, like a little linguistic thing. So I feel like saying I'm proud is a parental kind of like taking credit. But yeah, I'm just very excited for them.
Me too.
And for what they mean to the scene and kicking the door in, who's going to come in behind them. And that they'll Blink 182 shit, dude. It's going to just go next fucking level, man.
I'm excited for their next record, what that's going to sound like.
Yeah.
To see them on the Blink tour.
They're going to make so many new friends. It's going to be insane, because it's real, man.
It is real.
And how they treat the people and how they go about it and how they respect the fans, and all the videos that they make is very fan-centric.
So great, dude.
Yeah. I took my daughter up to see them in Salt Lake City. Because I was out of town when they played, And we went in a 250 cap club, like the smallest club in the whole tour.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was just insane.
Dude.
I got destroyed, man. We went up front. First song came in, I got totally taken out, like 5 people on top of me.
Pit again. I love
Lost a shoe for the first time in 53 years. I'm like, all right, old man, fucking hobble your ass out to the edge of the pit.
So you just went out there for the show.
Yeah, we
so
were
cool,
supposed
man.
to come see him here in LA, but it was too close to the beginning of the Sepultura tour. I didn't have time. And I was supposed to go see him a couple times in Phoenix, and it never fucking worked out.
Yeah, that's cool. You took a trip out there and see him.
Yeah, I was like, Salt Lake City's easy. The hotel was 2 doors down from the club. I met the tour manager. He let us go to sound check.
Wow.
We hung out at sound check, and I met the touring guitar player, Greg Cerwanka from Take Offense.
Yep.
He's from San Diego.
He's got a cool style on stage.
Yeah, and they're playing, and he starts playing the riff from The American Way during sound check, and I went, and he came down, he fist bumped me. He goes, I saw you guys in San Diego with Sepultura. I fucking love you guys. I saw him last night in San Diego. We hung out.
Dude, that's so cool, man.
Yeah, and we got to say hey to the guys, and my daughter got pictures with Franz. And,
Freaky Franz, my dude.
And Pat, and they're fucking
so cool, man.
I fucking love them so much.
Love their sound. Love they're not scared to try different things, different melodies.
Yeah, their energy,
their
vibe.
Dude.
Yeah, everything about it is just so perfect, and it's wonderful.
It's cool that 2 53-year-olds are loving that and appreciating that, coming from where we came from and the music we grew up on.
It's a testament to them, man.
Yeah.
They transcend the fucking bullshit.
They do.
They're the real. It's funny that they have the real thing, because it couldn't be fucking more true.
Yeah.
They are the real fucking thing, and that's why they're successful.
Yeah.
Because people can see it.
They feel it.
Yeah, it's real, and people getting into that scene. And it's a great
time going
scene.
to a punk show, hardcore show.
It's great to be part of that community and to lift it. Yeah, man.
It's got like an inclusive vibe, all diverse.
Yes,
Dude.
it's fucking exactly how it should be.
I want nothing but the best for them. I cannot wait to see them on what happens next. And people know this on this podcast. We talk about Turnstile every episode, but you brought them up. So, like, yeah, man, great band. I'm stoked for their future.
Yeah, man.
And it's like, I know a lot of people are like, well, that's not punk. That's not hardcore. There's no blueprint to this shit. And whatever your punk is, your hardcore is someone else is different. But to me, they're a hardcore punk band, and I love them. And it's like a new generation that I love all the new bands that are coming out now. I love it. And
it's all over the place.
Yeah,
and it's you don't have to judge. You don't have to put people in a box. It's against the whole idea of the whole thing in the first place.
100%, dude. There's a lot of gatekeepers of it. It's like, dude, who the fuck are you in the first place?
I remember thinking, what's hardcore? Hardcore is Agnostic Front and the Cro-Mags, right? But that's one version of it. What about the Bad Brains? Don't sound anything like that.
That's 30 years ago.
What's the Bad Brains? Don't sound anything like that. Fugazi doesn't sound anything like that. It's what it is, and it's more an attitude and what your expression.
It's
not
message,
to be afraid.
There's everything involved, man. It's beyond the sound.
The one band too that I fucking love is Scowl, man.
Let's go. They're my friends. I love Scowl. They're on the pod.
And I look at them and I go,
love them.
Of course they're going to be huge. Look at them.
I know.
She is incredible.
Badass.
She's fucking adorable on top of it. And you can't discount that. It's part of the package on top of everything. That's like the icing on the cake.
And the newest EP, she's singing on the songs in the video.
Yes.
It's so cool.
And it's
great kids, dude. Stoked for them.
And I watch them and I go, fuck, I can't wait for them, to kick in that door too, man.
Just killed Coachella the last 2 weekends or in England
and
right now.
More women, man. More
100%,
women in
dude.
the scene.
Gel
is like that.
Gel too. Yeah, we'll check you out. Joe from Jersey.
Yeah, man.
That's so cool. You're paying attention to that stuff and like.
It's exciting. I'm excited about the future, and I love to see women in the scene. I think it needs more. Like
and I was killing it too.
I was always trying to tell my wife, like, when you have women on tour, it's good because I think it tames everybody's asshole instincts. Like they try to, my wife's like, I don't really want a girl on the bus with you guys. I'm like, I get it, but I like having it around because I think it makes it. It stops people's more basic instincts. It makes people more polite.
Agreed. My wife so merch with us like almost her whole career, and she fucking set the tone out there too. Yeah, 100%. Check some fools too.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah.
Cheers, man.
Cheers. Well, yo, thank you for being here. This has been
It's my pleasure.
Incredible.
Thank you so much for having me. I think this is one of the best things out there. The people that you have on, the conversations that you have on.
Thank you.
Diverse
man.
group of people, wonderful group of people. You find you just have a wonderful mix, and people are just drawn to you. So it's a testament to you and who you are.
Thank you, brother.
I remember talking on the phone, and I was like, "Man, when are you gonna do PMA Fest? PMA Fest?
Oh yeah,
PMA
we should do that.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
I think it would be great with metal and punk and
Everything.
hardcore bands and skating and veganism and Buddhism and everything that's positive, to just put it out there for people to, punk rock saves lives, all these,
I should think about that.
Yeah. I think there would be a lot of people that would want to help you
guys
too.
would play it, right?
Of course, dude.
Be awesome.
I would help you with anything that you needed in any way that I ever could.
We're putting that out into the world right now too, to make it, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I think it would be great. Just start it one day, and just have it be an expression of music and positivity. And
there's been nothing like that.
PMA Fest, babe.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's the only common ingredient. It doesn't matter who plays.
Yeah.
It could be Amigo the Devil. It could be a hip hop band. It could be a metal band, a punk rock. It's just whoever's just bringing the real positive vibe that wants positive change and wants
to De La Soul on there, man.
Fuck.
Oh my god.
So and just.
I'm really gonna think about this.
I think it would be really a great thing.
You're putting this out there right now into the world, man.
Yeah.
Nobody take this idea if you're listening, but I think it'd be really.
Or
awesome.
if you do, make a killer.
Yeah, make sure you invite both of us to play.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where a good idea comes from. It's just that it's a good idea, right?
That it happens.
Yeah.
Oh, Phil, thank you, man.
It's my pleasure.
Appreciate you, brother. And thanks for listening, everybody. And you can find your information online. You have your own Instagram, and then the band has their own Instagram.
Yeah,
and all that stuff.
Sacred Reich.
Do you check messages on there? Do you check?
Yeah, our team is consistent of me.
So you answer messages.
I'm our social media director.
Do you talk to people in the comments? Do you let a negative comment bother you? Or if
negative comments?
If there are any, do you pay attention to anything like that?
No. Once again, I don't expect everybody to like us.
I know.
The only ones I deleted are the ones like, hey, we got tickets, so you need to buy those tickets. All these bots.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, otherwise, look, man,
you respond to people,
there's all kinds of people with comments. I don't respond to negative stuff because what's the point? That's what they're doing it for the attention.
They want the attention.
Yeah, and I'm not giving it to them. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd like to take all of it with a grain of salt, even the positive stuff. You just say thank you, I really appreciate it, without like letting it do something to your ego, right? You can accept a compliment and appreciation. See, I'm sorry, but we started doing meet and greets. We've never done before, and I am really opposed to the whole idea for charging for access.
I agree. I
hate the idea, but when I did the budget for this tour, I'm like, what the fuck are we going to do? Like, my wife's not working and I need to pay my bills. This is my job. And when you start at a really big deficit, when you go out and you're like, okay, we're at this much of a deficit and we're hoping we can make it up and then make some profit at the end. Well, this was one of the things. And Dave was in Machine Head and they used to do meet and greets. He goes, look, man, these are strictly voluntary. Nobody is making anybody do anything. He goes, and people want to do it.
Okay.
People want to meet the band. I said, all right, I'm going to relent. We'll try it. And one of the unexpected things was meeting people who the band means a lot to and hearing their stories one-on-one. Because sometimes it would be just one person at the meet and greet.
Yeah.
At the most, it was like 8 or 9. It was not big, so it was more intimate. We got to hang out.
Yeah.
And some people fucking made me cry.
Yeah, I'm sure, man.
Yeah,
the stories.
Yeah, so that was kind of a really cool, unexpected part of it. And this is why we're doing it, ultimately. So when you really get to make those connections with people, I'm looking out in the crowd every night at the people, looking in their faces.
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Those connections with people. That's why we do this.
Yeah. Well, you're here for a reason. You're still playing for a reason. You inspired a lot of people with your band and changed a lot of lives, man. You should definitely be proud of everything you've done,
We're just trying to do our best, what I mean? To make our little corner of the world just a little better. Just leave it a little bit better than we found it. If we can do that, we're fortunate.
I think you're doing it. Well, thank you, bro, for being here.
Thank you.
And looking forward to the new record will come out next year, maybe, huh?
Yeah, hopefully. I hope we can finish writing the songs. I mean, we'll see what happens. Hopefully they come out, and if not, it'll take longer. But it's more important
that it's right. People wait that long,
they
wait.
Yeah, look, man, it's more. What's the point of rushing a record? For what? For what?
Because once it's out, it's out.
Yeah,
forever.
It's better just to put out the best shit you can.
Yeah.
That's all that really matters.
Yeah.
No one cares.
I agree.
Just do your thing.
Do your thing.
Cheers, man.
Cheers, brother. This was amazing, dude. I'm going to take a piss and then we're going to take a photo.
Fuck yeah.
Bye, everybody. Peace.
Cheers.
I always ask my guests if they have any regrets. I personally don't have any regrets. Even when it comes to my tattoos, I have the silliest tattoos. Even my ET on my leg, it's still a childhood memory for me, and I love it. I've had tattoos on top of tattoos strictly because I wanted more tattoos. I started getting tattoos when I was 18. I'm 52 now, and I can't stop. I've had laser treatment before on something on my arm. It's 4 tattoos on top of each other. And that experience at that place was pretty fast. It was pretty cold. It was in and out, swiped the credit card. Don't really tell me much. Didn't give me much details or anything was going to happen. So I never went back. So as of most recently, I'm so lucky enough to have had 2 sessions at Removery Tattoo Removal. My tattoo on my arm that looks like a big black blob is now super light. I've had 2 sessions. I have a long road ahead of me. None of this stuff happens overnight. You cannot take a tattoo up in one sitting. You have to be patient. And it's painful. They ice you up. It's super fast. To me, it felt like a bunch of rubber bands. But what's more painful than that is looking at something on your body that you think you're stuck with for the rest of your life. That sucks. But now for me, I'm really happy I started this journey. I'm slowly going to get this tattoo removed. I never thought in a million years I have any kind of real estate on my arm. I don't even know what I want, but it's exciting. I'm so honored to announce that One Life One Chance podcast is now with Removery. I have a code. Use TobyH20 and get $100 off your first session. Call 866-934-4570 or go to Removery.com. One of the most experienced tattoo removal companies in the world. Over 600,000 removal treatments done. 100 locations, U.S., Canada, and Australia. State-of-the-art peak-away laser technology, cryo-technology to reduce any discomfort. This is so exciting for me because all I do in these podcasts is talk about tattoos. From day one, if you've been listening to this podcast, we talk about tattoos, talk about getting removed, talk about getting covered up. So this is such a perfect fit for me. Once again, go to Removery.com or call 866-934-4570. Use my code TobyH20 and get $100 off. These guys are located everywhere. Try it out.